Luna might not have believed it, but she absolutely could not hear Cole admit out loud. The destructive force of a confession would be too much for anyone to bear. With time, maybe they would find a quiet acceptance. Maybe something would happen in the future that would make them acknowledge each other. Or, of course, maybe they would fall apart. I don't believe you. You're lying. The way she was holding you. She likes you, Luna said, shaking her head. The life, however, had begun to return to her half-closed eyes, no longer as dead as they were moments ago. A spark ignited in Cole's mind. A path opened up. He knew exactly how to handle this. He immediately shed all sense of shame. How would I know if she likes me or not? We've been classmates for a long time. What if she has a secret crush on me? How am I supposed to know about that? Luna's eyes flickered, but she kept her neck craned toward the ceiling, refusing to spare Cole even a single glance. Lu, turn around. Look at me, Cole said softly, gently rubbing her cheek. He tried to turn her face toward him. After a moment of slight resistance, her beautiful, slightly haggard face finally turned. A pair of misty, tear-filled eyes looked at Cole. What Luna saw was a pair of eyes, shot through with red veins, but shining with a tender, loving light. It was a look that made her heart waver instantly. Cole had always cherished her like this, letting her live in a world of warmth and sweetness. My sweet Lu, brother can't live without you, Cole murmured, staring deeply into her eyes, his voice soft but powerful. Luna's tears finally burst forth. That phrase, my sweet Lu, crashed against the fortress of her stubbornness, leaving it in ruins. Her small mouth crumpled, and she began to cry. But you ignored me. You didn't walk me back to my dorm. You didn't explain anything. You don't care about me. Stop. Tears streamed down her cheeks like tiny rivers. The sight of her, so heartbroken and wronged, sent a sharp pain through Cole's own heart. He pulled her into his arms, gently stroking the back of her head as he whispered into her ear, Lu, you misunderstood. In my heart, you're more important than headline today. Brother can live without headline, but I can't live without you. He wasn't lying. If headline today failed, he could always build something new. You're lying. You don't care about me. Luna mumbled into his chest, her sobs muffled as her tears soaked his shirt. Let's let time prove it, okay? Cole said, planting a kiss on her forehead. He was confident now. The girl just wanted to hear his explanation. She didn't truly want to leave. But if he hadn't shown a willingness to explain, things could have gone very differently. Given Luna's personality, she might have done something drastic. The fact she'd even changed out of the clothes he'd bought her showed how desperate she'd felt. Luna clutched at Cole's shirt and wept, her sobs low but still audible in the empty little conference room. An upperclassman from another company happened to walk by and glanced in curiously. Cole turned and gave him an awkward but polite smile. Luckily, the conference room was next to the fire escape, a low-traffic area. Otherwise, it would have been truly embarrassing. Luna's crying actually allowed Cole's tense heart to relax. He gently patted her back, peppering her cheeks and forehead with kisses, murmuring sweet nothings that even he felt a little embarrassed to say. At a time like this, no amount of sweet talk was too much. The sappier the better. And it was working. Her sobs were growing quieter. After a long while, the crying finally stopped, replaced by soft sniffles. Cole lifted her chin and gave her a light kiss on the lips, but she immediately turned her face and hid in his chest. No, I'm not letting you kiss me. Clearly, the anger hadn't fully subsided. But Cole wasn't about to let an opportunity to strike while the iron was hot slip by. He lifted her chin again, turning her face toward him, and kissed her. There was no better sedative than a kiss. Luna struggled slightly, trying to turn away, but her mouth was captured, and she gave up the fight. She didn't respond actively, merely receiving his kiss. At most, her little fruit-flavored tongue, when caught, didn't try to flee. A long moment later, Luna pushed him away. I'm not letting you kiss me. I don't feel right. Sweet Lu, don't you have class today? Cole ignored her protest, changing the subject while his lips still brushed against hers. I do. I have to go in a bit, she said. A hint of color finally returned to her pale cheeks. Then let me walk you back to your dorm to change first, okay? Cole asked tentatively. If she agreed, it meant she would be okay. No, I'm not wearing the clothes you bought, Luna said, her eyes closed, a look of pure grievance on her face. So you really don't care about me. You just think the clothes I buy are ugly, is that it? Cole feigned anger, turning the accusation back on her. I didn't. I'm just mad at you. Luna blurted out her true feelings without thinking, not wanting him to misunderstand. Well, if you don't change back, I'll be mad too, Cole pressed, giving her no room to refuse. Luna didn't say anything, her misty eyelashes fluttering. Are you changing or not? Cole nuzzled his nose against hers, interrogating her. Their breath mingled, a familiar scent that brought Luna back to how things were before. Unable to resist his persistent nuzzling, she finally whispered, "Fine, I'll change. I have to go, or I'll be late. Then I'll walk you." "No." Cole helped her pack her laptop in her bag, then took the hand of the girl, still saying no, and led her down the fire escape to the 14th floor to avoid any awkward encounters passing by his office. "I can go back by myself," Luna insisted stubbornly in the elevator. But her hand was held fast in his, and she couldn't pull away. She kept up the protest all the way to the front of her dorm building. Then, she tilted her head and said her goodbyes. Cole stroked her hair, his voice soft and syrupy. "Be good. I always care about you. You're not allowed to go anywhere except by my side." He knew she was still upset, but at least she was out of danger. The rest of her hurt would fade with time. It shouldn't take long. He turned his cheek to her. "Give me a kiss." "No." "Okay, I'm leaving then." Cole awkwardly retracted his thick-skinned offer, smiled, and waved as he turned to walk away. "Brother." A frantic cry came from behind him. "What is it?" Cole turned, his heart leaping with joy, but his expression was one of feigned confusion. In front of a few passing female students, Luna jogged a couple of steps forward and planted a quick kiss on Cole's cheek. Her eyes were full of grievance, yet also a sliver of heartache as she looked at him, not hiding her true feelings. "But I'm still mad at you. Come by tomorrow to handle the reimbursements, and we'll have a proper talk, okay?" Cole gently ruffled her hair. "Okay." Luna walked into the building, looking back every few steps. Up on the 6th floor, Brianna and Felicity quickly pulled their heads back from the window. On his way back to the venture lab, Cole's heart was still unsettled. He had managed to pacify Luna for now. That was because she was willing to believe him, willing to give him face, willing to accept his comfort and his explanation. But he still needed to make a grander gesture to completely smooth over the hurt in her heart. As he neared the venture lab, his phone buzzed. Beep, 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 beep. Facebook Messenger. Jasmine's profile picture was pulsing. Cole's heart leaped as he tapped it open. As the message filled the screen, his eyes slowly widened. A sudden panic seized him, a powerful sense of dread. "Cole, you've grown up. You're successful now, 100 times more outstanding than I ever imagined. There's nothing more I can do to help you. It seems I've only become a burden holding you back. Cole, I'm setting you free." Cole read the melancholic, farewell-like message several times. The anxiety in his chest felt like it was about to burst. "Sis, you're not going to do something stupid, are you?" After seeing those private posts, Cole felt she was genuinely capable of it. They had grown up together, one who loved to bite and one who was used to being bitten. They were both a little messed up. He quickly typed a message. "Sis, where are you?" Then he clutched his phone and broke into a dead sprint, heading off campus. He ran until he was breathless, but his phone remained silent, making his anxiety skyrocket. Reaching the road outside the main gate, he gasped for air and flagged down a taxi. Just after he got in, his phone buzzed. He thought it was Jasmine, but when he opened it, he saw it was Serena. "Cole, my prize piglet is so sad." Crying face. "I found a white hair this morning," crying face. Cole's heart ached for her. A white hair already? But right now, his worry for Jasmine eclipsed everything else. He replied, "Be good, piglet. I'll come find you tonight." Serena replied instantly. "Okay, my prize piglet needs you," crying face. Cole closed his eyes. After a minute or two, he opened them again. They were filled with a deep anguish, tinged with a hint of madness. She has to be on campus. There's no way she could have gone far in such a short time. To placate Jasmine, he had a lot to do, and he had to throw himself into it completely. The taxi arrived at the gates of Eastwood Tech. Cole called her. The phone was off. He blended in with a group of students and slipped onto the campus, running toward the dorms for the business administration department. By the time he got there were still no new messages, no calls. The anxiety in his heart had reached its peak. His whole body was tense, as if the world were about to end. He couldn't get into the girls' dorm. He waited and waited, asking several girls who were heading back inside. None of them were on Jasmine's floor, and none were willing to help. Cole smacked his forehead. He was so panicked he'd become an idiot. He pulled a $20 bill from his pocket and stopped another girl. That did the trick. Money, it turned out, was a powerful motivator. The girl came back down moments later. "Sorry, Jasmine Young isn't in her room. Her roommates don't know where she is. So I'm done, right?" "Yeah." Cole nodded, his expression grim. The girl giggled and turned to leave, but then she stopped and looked back, her gaze meaningful. "Jasmine Young is a tough one to win over. You're cute and all, but you'll probably just be wasting your time. Want to try for someone else? There's a pretty girl in my dorm. For another 20, I'll give you her number. No thanks, Cole said, in no mood for this. His mind was on fire with anxiety. Okay then. The girl walked away, a look of regret on her face as she watched the handsome but frantic guy hurry off. She was a junior and hadn't gone to the freshman welcome showcase last year, so she had no idea who Cole was. She just heard gossip that Jasmine Young had a brother. She didn't think this was him. How could a brother not be able to contact his own sister? He must be another suitor. What a shame. He was a really attractive underclassman. Cole wandered aimlessly for a few minutes, then turned and headed for the library. It was a place Jasmine frequented. Eastwood Tech's campus was huge. It took Cole a long time to reach the relatively remote library. He went straight to the 7th floor, the study area. He moved quietly through the rows of students, some focused on their books, others whispering in conversation. His eyes were starting to blur. After a good 6 or 7 minutes, Cole's eyes suddenly lit up. Huh, found her. There, by a window in the back, sat Jasmine and Alex. Jasmine didn't look well, but she was still diligently copying something from a book. Cole didn't disturb them. Instead, he quickly turned and walked back, down the stairs and out of the library. Women were strange creatures. If you went to apologize or try to sweet-talk them at a moment like this, you'd often get the opposite effect. Some poor saps even ended up getting yelled at in public, their hands slapped away, or even getting a slap across the face. TSK. Cole wasn't that stupid. While Jasmine wouldn't make a scene in public, she definitely wouldn't be happy to see him. So, he had to take the scenic route. Confirming she was safe was all he needed. He returned to the area near her dorm, sat on the edge of a planter, and closed his eyes. He began to brew his emotions, channeling all his fear of losing Jasmine, letting the actor within take over. A moment later, his eyes opened, filled with longing and pain. The emotions were real. He was 1,000,000% terrified of losing her. But longing and strategy weren't mutually exclusive. Only a fool would let himself become a headless chicken. At this moment, Cole entered the state of a man who can't find his sister, his heart filled with regret. He was about to perform a rescue mission for himself. The feeling of heartbreak was like a bursting dam, flooding every crack and crevice of his bones. Sis, where are you? He looked around fruitlessly, muttering curses at himself under his breath. He hoped to spot her in a passing group of girls, hoped she would appear, smiling, and walk toward him. But she didn't. His eyes were bloodshot. Like a muttering madman, he wandered the campus like a headless chicken. His mind was filled with the image of Jasmine's face, her voice, her smile, her pouting anger. There was room for nothing else. Hi, excuse me, have you seen Jasmine Young? No, sorry to bother you. The couple he'd asked looked baffled. They'd only heard the name. In a school of tens of thousands, what were the chances of running into her? They watched his retreating back, exchanged a glance, and shook their heads. This guy must have been driven crazy trying to win over the campus queen. Hi, excuse me, have you seen Jasmine Young? No. Hi, excuse me. Hi, excuse me. This went on until 1 in the afternoon. Word began to spread through several departments. There was a guy, driven mad by his love for Jasmine Young, wandering around looking for her. His eyes were red, and he looked terrifying. Campus security, on their electric patrol scooter, found this madman. Hey, son, what department are you in? Hello, have you seen Jasmine Young? The two security officers exchanged a look, then turned back to the handsome but dazed-looking student. Son, what's your name? What department are you in? You're scaring the other students. You need to calm down. Sorry to bother you. Cole, not getting the answer he wanted, turned to leave. He had to check other places. Maybe he'd run into someone who had seen her. Hey, kid, hold on. The two officers hurried forward and grabbed Cole's arms. Calm down. Take a break. Find her slowly. No, I have to find her now. Cole struggled, but couldn't break free. Easy. Do you have your campus ID on you? One officer asked in a soothing voice, not loosening his grip. Oh yeah. Cole's mind was a muddle. He didn't think twice and pulled his campus card from his pocket. It was his meal card, his water card, his access card. He always had it on him. Eastwood University? The officer was surprised when he saw the card. They started pulling Cole toward the scooter. Whoa, hey Cole, you can't stay here. If you're going to look for her, you need to go back to Eastwood U. Don't make things difficult for us. They just assumed he was some lovesick student and wanted to get him off campus quickly before someone complained they were letting strangers run wild. I need to look for her. Cole struggled hard, almost throwing the two middle-aged officers to the ground. Don't. The person you're looking for is at the East Gate. Just come with us, one of the officers said, his eyes darting around. With a guy this out of it, it was best to just lie. Okay, thank you, sir. Cole's eyes widened, his face flushing. Sis is at the East Gate. She's at the East Gate. He obediently climbed onto the back of the security scooter. 6 or 7 minutes later. All right, son, calm down. Go back to Eastwood, you. Some things just aren't meant to be. The officer blocked Cole from going back through the gate. They had no idea who Jasmine Young was. Probably just some pretty girl at their university. This kid probably got dumped, came here to find her, and she blew him off. If he were one of their own students, they could only advise him. As long as he acted normal, they couldn't stop him from looking. But since he wasn't, they had to escort him out. Can I just go in and look for a little longer, please? Cole didn't have the mental energy to process the fact that he'd been tricked. He just wanted to get back on campus and try his luck. No can do. Go home and cool off. The officer waved his hand dismissively. If this kid went crazy on their campus, they'd be the ones in trouble. Cole didn't argue. He turned numbly and started walking toward North Lake. This gate was familiar. He'd been here a few times. From here, you could get to the cherry blossom garden by the lake. There were students constantly coming and going. Hey, excuse me. Have you seen Jasmine Young? What do you want with her? You've seen her? I'm her brother. I can't get in touch with her. Cole grabbed the male student's arm like it was a life raft. No, I haven't seen her. I was just asking. You're her brother. The student looked at Cole with surprise, sizing him up. Oh, Cole let go of his arm in disappointment, didn't answer, and turned toward the lake. More people went for walks there. Maybe he'd find someone who'd seen her. Hey, excuse me, have you seen Jasmine Young? He asked person after person. Some said no, others shied away from him in fear. Cole no longer cared about his image. He just wanted to ask one more person. The more he asked, the more desperate he felt. His phone had buzzed. Messages about headline today. He ignored them. His only focus was finding his sister. Where did she go? Cole's eyes were vacant as he scanned his surroundings, his gaze drifting toward the greenway path that circled the lake. Could she be by the water? He dragged his heavy heart and heavy feet in that direction. His pale face and bloodshot eyes scared everyone he approached, making them dart to the side. Was this guy an escapee from a mental hospital? Half an hour later, Cole was sitting on the ground by the lake, staring blankly at the water. Sis, where are you? It had been so long, and still no word from Jasmine. Could she have? Intense longing, pain, despair, and anxiety swirled in Cole's heart like a Category 5 hurricane. He started hearing things, his sister's voice echoing in his ears. Cole, if you don't take care of me when I'm old, I'll beat you to death. Cole, you have to be more low-key, you know? Cole, you're my whole life. The memories of the past finally broke the last dam of his composure. A wave of grief washed over him. He covered his face with his hands, a hoarse, suppressed sob escaping through his fingers. Finally, he lost control, and it turned into a full-blown wail. Sob, sis, where are you? I was wrong, okay. Sob. Passing tourists and students looked at the man crying by the side of the path with a mixture of pity and hope. He must have just been dumped. Poor guy. A middle-aged man shook his head as he walked by, sighing softly. Kids these days are so fragile. Is something so small really worth crying over? Don't be like that. You're not him. How do you know it's not worth it? The woman with him grumbled. There's a saying, nothing is a big deal except life and death, the man said, seeming very philosophical. And there's another saying, parting is its own kind of death. I guess if I weren't around one day, you wouldn't think it was a big deal. The woman's gaze turned sharp. What are you talking about? I can't win with you. Let's drop it. The man quickly retreated. When a woman started picking a fight, it never ended. They walked away, the woman glancing back one last time. A group of college kids, boys and girls, passed by, clearly heading for a walk along the lake. Dude, that guy's crying his eyes out. He must have gotten dumped, one of the guys said sympathetically. Another broken heart in the world, another chimed in. But two girls at the back of the group stopped. We should go check on him. We don't want anything to happen, said the long-haired girl. She'd seen plenty of cocky guys, and plenty who cried over a breakup. But this guy's sobs were different. They sounded so sad, so pure, it made her want to help. Okay, let's go ask, her friend agreed, calling out to the group ahead. You guys go on, we'll catch up. They crossed the greenway and walked toward the crying man. Hey, Nadia, what are you guys doing? One of the guys up ahead called out, sounding annoyed. This was ruining the vibe. We're just going to check on him, make sure he's okay. You guys can wait if you want, replied Nadia, the long-haired girl. Her friends were speechless, but had no choice but to wait. The two dorms had planned this outing together, and there were certain expectations. Now, this had thrown a wrench in the works. They should have just kept walking. The two girls approached Cole from behind. Excuse me, are you okay? Nadia asked softly. From behind, she could tell he had a great build, very clean cut. She already had a good impression without even seeing his face. She couldn't help but reach out and touch his shoulder. Excuse me, is something wrong? Do you need to talk? Just as her hand touched the fabric over his shoulder, A clear voice rang out from a distance. "Excuse me, please don't touch him." "Thank you." Nadia and her friend turned to see a tall figure sprinting toward them from about 100 feet away. "Is that Jasmine Yang?" a guy on the greenway asked in surprise. "Who else could it be? You can recognize her from a mile away," another guy said, crossing his arms, sensing a story was about to unfold. Nadia and her friend didn't know Jasmine well, but they understood immediately. The main character had arrived. They regretfully backed away and rejoined their group, none of whom had left. They all wanted to see what was going on. Cole was crying his heart out. He didn't want to cry, especially not in public. But he couldn't stop it. He couldn't find his sister. The pain of losing her in this life, and alas, compounded into one unbearable wave. His inner strategist curled up in a corner of his mind. How much longer? His better angel was sobbing uncontrollably. Until she gets here. Cole blocked out his other self, becoming a truly heartbroken man. Grief filled his body and soul. A person was standing in front of him. He knew, but he didn't want to acknowledge it. As a non-actor, he was giving a professional-level performance, his consciousness fully committed to the role. Suddenly, a pair of arms wrapped tightly around his head, pulling him into an embrace. The better angel in his mind was still crying, but a small smile had already appeared on its lips. A familiar voice, thick with tears, sounded in his ear. "Why are you so stupid? Why didn't you just go ask at the library? My phone died last night." "Stop." The familiar voice and scent pulled Cole out of his tormented haze. It was as if a spotlight had switched on in the darkest corner of his mind. It was his sister. He lifted his head in disbelief. Before him was a beautiful, tear-streaked face. Those familiar features. Who else could it be but his Jasmine? It was as if, just before hitting the bottom of a cliff, he had been flung back up to the top. Cole threw his arms around Jasmine, holding her tight, afraid that the person in his arms would suddenly fly away. "Stop, sis. Don't leave me." I won't. Stop. Sis won't leave you." They clung to each other, crying, on the side of the busy greenway path. They didn't care if anyone was watching, didn't care if people were laughing, didn't care about the reputation of Eastwood Tech's #1 campus beauty. The people passing by, the ones who had stopped, those who recognized the campus queen, and those who didn't, they were all stunned. The looks on the faces of the 7 or 8 guys in the crowd were particularly complicated. The #1 beauty of Eastwood Tech, the cool and proud Jasmine Yang, was hugging a guy and crying like this. It was unbelievable. They suddenly couldn't understand it. What did beautiful, amazing girls like her actually want? Was it flowers? Luxury cars? Talent? A handsome face? They were destined never to understand. The bond between these two was too deep to be swayed by material things. The girls' gazes were much purer, filled only with a deep sense of shared emotion. Some of them had been in relationships, others were single. What they were witnessing was a massive emotional shock. Is this what true love is like? This is how it should be. So faithful, so deep, so intertwined that you couldn't tell where one person ended and the other began. TV dramas were fake, but this was real. Nadia wiped a tear from her eye. Her first love had come and gone in a flash. Before she could even process it, the feeling was gone. This kind of devotion only existed in her imagination. "This is so moving," her roommate breathed out. She pulled out her new iPhone 4 and opened the camera to record. A scene this touching deserved to be posted on Headline today. Nadia caught the movement out of the corner of her eye and quickly pressed her hand down. "Don't. Let's not disturb them." "Okay." Her roommate regretfully closed the recording app and deleted the few seconds she'd captured. Other onlookers kept turning their heads, not with mockery, but with a sense of being touched. Jasmine gently stroked the back of her brother's head. She could feel his love for her, so deep and vast that her heart could swim freely in it without fear of running out of air. The brother in her arms right now had none of his usual lecherousness, none of his fighting spirit, only a completely unguarded vulnerability. He needed her protection, and she was more than willing to give it. Their sobs gradually subsided. Cole felt a wave of post-disaster relief. He inhaled her clean scent and choked out, "Sis, that message nearly scared me to death." "I'm sorry, Cole. Sis was just angry," Jasmine whispered, kissing the top of his head. That message had truly been her plan. Go back to Linden Creek, help her dad with the company, and let Cole go. She didn't know what would become of her, but in that moment, she had to let him go. The pain of sending that message had made her fingers tremble. She had been in the library with Alex. Her phone's battery had barely lasted long enough to send it. If she hadn't kept turning it on, typing and deleting, it would have lasted longer. It wasn't until she got back to her dorm that she heard someone had been looking for her. A gossipy classmate told her the handsome guy looking for her was going crazy, wandering all over campus asking if anyone had seen Jasmine Yang, and that he'd eventually been escorted out by security. Jasmine didn't need to think to know it was her brother. The thought of him being called a lunatic made her heart ache. She had run like a madwoman, asking her way to the east gate, questioning the security guards, and then following the trail outside the gate. Luckily, the path around the lake was simple. Everyone who had seen Cole had a vivid memory of the crazy-looking boy. And finally, she had found him here. Even from a distance, she had recognized the crumpled figure sitting on the ground as her brother. "Why didn't you go look in a library? You're so silly," Jasmine murmured, rubbing her cheek against his head. "I wasn't thinking straight, and I don't really remember how to get to your school's library." Cole closed his eyes, greedily inhaling her scent. He had been so afraid something had happened to her. His mind was a complete blank. "It's my fault. I should have charged my phone," Jasmine said, full of remorse. It was the first time in her life she had seen Cole cry like this, and it was for her. She felt both satisfied and guilty. He was such a strong young man, usually so tough, and he had cried like a child. "It's my fault, sis. I can't lose you," Cole said, tightening his embrace. "You know you're wrong, don't you? Look at how you've bullied me." Though the words were blaming, Jasmine's tone was filled with tenderness. "Cease. Cole didn't know what to say. He was torn. In the end, it was all his own fault. Once you establish a cause, you have to bear the consequences. Serena and Luna were both his consequences, and he couldn't bring himself to ruthlessly break away. Serena was so dependent on him, she was getting white hairs. How could he be so cruel? Luna's attachment was even more explicit. If something happened to her, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. If they were just gold diggers, he wouldn't have hesitated, but they weren't. "Cole, you don't have to say it. It's just another girl, isn't it?" Jasmine closed her eyes gently, hiding the conflict deep within them, and kissed his hair again. As long as her brother loved her, was she really afraid she couldn't win against some other woman? Besides, the future was uncertain. How long could they last? Maybe they'd leave one day. Serena's family, would they ever approve of her being with him? The answer was obvious. He might as well use Serena's family connections to his advantage. As for Luna, once she saw more of the world, maybe she'd find someone else. And if she didn't, well, he would always need a trustworthy person for his finances. And as for her, she would be with her brother for the rest of her life, forever. Based on his performance today, no one could ever take her place. She might have to sacrifice some things, but compared to her brother's love, those were minor details. Cole's feelings were incredibly complex. Her words had caught him completely by surprise. This was entirely contrary to her usual possessiveness. He didn't feel happy about it. He was afraid she was saying the opposite of what she meant. "Don't get too happy too soon. I'm still very angry. If I hadn't seen that they're both still untouched, you'd either be dead, or I'd be dead for you to see." Jasmine wiped the tears from her cheeks, then wiped his, a glint in her eye. Her brother had restrained himself. That, whether intentional or not, was a statement. Jasmine's calm, gentle words sent a shiver down Cole's spine. Thank God I understand her. There had been several times he had almost lost control. Jasmine released him, patted his bent leg, and then turned to sit with her back to him on the ground. Cole hugged her from behind, letting her lean against him. The onlookers had already dispersed. There was nothing more to see. The girl named Nadia looked back several times. "You're going to be the death of me one day," Jasmine sighed, leaning back comfortably, her tear-reddened eyes gazing at the lake. "Then I'll just have to die before you. So it won't happen, right?" Cole's grief had faded, replaced by a longing for the future, a future filled with things he had once scorned. Jasmine turned her head and gently bit his chin. "You and your sweet talk, always confusing me." Cole leaned in to kiss her red lips, but they quickly dodged away. "Kiss my ass. You think I'm not mad anymore? Just you wait. You're getting on my last nerve right now." Jasmine huffed, even jabbing him with her elbow. Oof! Cole nearly lost his breath. The two of them nestled together, quietly admiring the March Lake view until 3:30 in the afternoon, when Jasmine had to leave for a professional management class. Cole never did get a kiss from those fragrant lips. It was his punishment. Watching his sister walk through the east gate of Eastwood Tech, Cole's heart finally relaxed a little. His sister was still here, safe and sound. He let out a soft breath, then closed and opened his eyes. The madness and pain in their depths receded like a tide, leaving them much clearer, though his face was still pale. The massive emotional roller coaster had left him mentally exhausted, but he still had one more very important thing to do. Seeing that it was still a while before Serena's class ended, Cole found a planter to sit on and replied to the messages from Headline Today. The storm in his eyes gradually calmed, until they were completely still. The corners of his mouth curved into a slight smile. The crisis was mostly averted, and, with it, a certain state of being. Love that isn't seen by your beloved is love that doesn't exist. His fear of losing Jasmine was real, his love was real, and even his grief was real. But if none of that was witnessed, it had no practical meaning. There was no way Jasmine could have wandered far in such a short time. She had to be on campus. At first, Cole had considered faking an illness, but he immediately dismissed the idea. Jasmine saw right through him. She would look at him like an adult watching a child throw a tantrum on the floor. It would be nothing but embarrassing and wouldn't do a thing to quell her anger. Everything was real. It was all guided by a calm, subconscious strategy to do whatever it took to make his sister forgive him. The price was that he, too, got swept up in the emotion and felt the pain deeply. His inner strategist, tied up and bound, sighed in admiration. You're something else. His better angel smiled faintly. To win the game, you have to become the game. The strategist gave a thumbs up. Damn, now let me go. The angel shook its head. Stay put. The second you open your mouth, you'll blow our cover. Cole's eyes were still red. They wouldn't recover for a while. And it was better that way. He still had one more thing to do. When the time was right, he appeared downstairs from the law school's women's dorm. He could see Serena jogging along the upstairs corridor toward the stairwell. Then came the rapid clack-clack-clack of her shoes on the stairs. A moment later, she burst out of the building. She was wearing a long, cream-colored sweater dress with light gray leggings. Her beautiful face wore a hint of grievance. As she ran, she called out his name in a soft, pleading voice, Cole. Cole smiled and opened his arms, catching her as she rushed into his embrace. He was a little surprised. She doesn't seem that mad. Serena threw her arms around his waist and buried her face in the crook of his neck, letting out a long sigh, like a drowning person finally breaking the surface of the water. Cole stroked the back of her neck, patting her back gently as if comforting a child. After a long moment, Serena looked up and held out her index finger, her face a mask of someone desperately needing to be comforted. She whimpered, Cole, look, I have a white hair. Cole looked down. A single white hair was wrapped around Serena's delicate, lustrous finger. In his past life, even kids in their early teens would get white hairs. There were 3 reasons. 1, high stress and emotional trauma. 2, genetics. And the third was interesting, an excessive depletion of kidney essence, which usually happened to boys, like certain poor saps who like to watch inappropriate things. But it was 2011. Serena ate well, slept well, and lived a carefree life. How could she have a white hair? It was clearly the first reason. Cole's face filled with pity. He used his thumb to gently smooth the faint frown lines between her eyebrows. My prize piglet must be too tired. Starting tomorrow, just go to class like normal. You don't have to study so hard. We don't have to get a PhD. You've got me. As for the pressure from her family, Cole couldn't say anything, so he could only offer comfort from his own perspective. I'm a little tired. Not from studying, but from... Serena trailed off, swallowing the rest of her words. Her mother's concern was making her anxious, but she couldn't say it out loud. It would make her sound ungrateful. Her brows furrowed again unconsciously, a hint of depression in her eyes. A warm kiss landed on her forehead, ironing out the worries that had started to bubble up again. Cole gave her perky but a light pat. My good piglet won't think about all that. Just be happy. He understood her unspoken words. There was no need to ask. You hit my butt again. Serena puffed out her cheeks, looking up at him. Her expression was one of protest, but her eyes were filled with delight and relaxation. Then she let out a little gasp. Oh, Cole, your eyes are all red. Didn't you sleep well? Maybe a little. I was worried you'd be mad, you know? I was up all night thinking about it, Cole said shamelessly, putting on a don't worry about me face. What he really meant was, hurry up and worry about me. Then you won't be mad anymore. Serena wouldn't be too angry, that was certain. She was the one being protected. How angry she was, though, was still hard to say. He'd have to see how she reacted. I was a little mad, but then it's like I wasn't mad. But when you ignored me, I got really mad, Serena said, pouting to express her dissatisfaction. Her plump red lips made Cole desperately want to give her a peck. So he leaned down and did just that. You jerk, there's so many people here. Let's go. Serena glanced around, a blush rising on her cheeks. There weren't actually that many people, and they were all minding their own business. There were other guys waiting for their girlfriends downstairs. The only ones staring were upstairs. All right, let's go eat. Cole grinned. He already knew where he stood. They walked hand in hand toward the dining hall. Serena glanced up and saw a familiar head duck back from a window. Upstairs, Zoe patted her chest, a little freaked out. She felt like her roommate's gaze was getting deeper and deeper. She looked so calm on the surface, but it felt like she could see right through her. By the time they finished dinner, it was past 7. The sky hadn't completely darkened, but the campus streetlights were already on. Students were sitting in small groups on the lawn near the law school. Cole and Serena found a spot as well. Serena took out a pack of tissues, pulled out a few sheets, and placed them on the grass for Cole to sit on. As for her seat was Cole's lap. The long sweater dress meant she could only sit sideways in his lap. An arm pillowed her neck, making it incredibly comfortable. She traced patterns on his chest with her slender fingers, writing words he couldn't see. She had saved the white hair, saying she wanted to keep it as a memento. The feeling of his body against her hip made her cheeks flush pink, but she deliberately swayed her hips and pouted. "You're being naughty again." "Am I? I had no idea. Why don't you do it again?" Cole looked down at her with a wicked grin. That face is so lewd." Serena covered her face with her hands, peeking at him through her fingers. But she swayed her hips again, her face turning an even deeper shade of red, thinking the growing darkness would hide it. But Cole saw it all clearly. "You little minx. You dare to tease me." Cole lifted her up and repositioned her. You jerk." Serena covered her face, too embarrassed to move. The anger from the past 2 days was a distant memory she didn't want to think about. Something she could see clearly without needing to guess. But compared to the way Cole soothed her soul, everything else could be set aside. She needed him. She knew everything about him, down to the last detail, and he never put any pressure on her, giving her a sense of security that allowed her to completely relax. Only by his side was she truly carefree. Serena lifted her right index finger and poked a dimple into Cole's cheek, pressing it over and over, having the time of her life. As Serena played with the dimple in Cole's cheek, she suddenly said, "Cole, I'll always be on your side, but you're not allowed to leave me." Huh? Cole's heart jolted. He instantly understood what she meant. This wasn't about Jasmine or Luna. This was her declaring her own position. She was saying that between her family and him, she chose him. The heavy weight of her trust settled on Cole's heart. A slender, pale finger found its way to his mouth, playfully flicking his lower lip. The finger's owner murmured, "If you ever leave me, I'll die. You have to remember that, Cole. Keep it in your heart." "I'll carve it on my heart," Cole responded with absolute seriousness, then quickly nipped the tip of that delicate finger. The sudden sneak attack made Serena let out a soft cry of surprise. But she didn't pull her finger back. Instead, she stared at him and said softly, "I'll remember what you said. Once it's carved, you can't take it back." "Never," Cole said, his voice clear despite the finger still in his mouth. He had really hit the jackpot with his sweet girl. Only a fool would take it back. "Good." Serena curled up, making herself more comfortable, and closed her eyes, letting her finger rest in his mouth. Before long, a soft, steady snore came from her. Cole carefully supported the back of her neck, adjusted her legs, and pulled her skirt down a little further. Then he held that position without moving. He sat like that until 9 o'clock, until his back was nearly stiff. Only then did Serena wake up. She blinked her sleepy eyes and smacked her lips. After looking at Cole, she snuggled her head closer into his chest and closed her eyes again, content. Cole kissed her on the cheek and sat still for another half hour. Finally, Serena was truly awake. She yawned without covering her mouth and murmured, "Cole, I slept so well. Next time, I don't have an 8 a.m. class. I'm going to your place to sleep. You have to hold me." "Of course. We'll cuddle all night." The word home made Cole's heart bloom with joy. His back didn't even ache anymore. "She really is my sweet prize piglet. Life is good." A happy smile curved Serena's lips. Okay, time slipped by. The couples on the lawn thinned out, all having finished their business and gone back. This time, Cole waited until Serena was on the upstairs corridor and they had waved goodbye before he left. Tonight's communication had gone unexpectedly smoothly. She had only mentioned her anger once, and then it was as if it had never existed. The next day, the staff at Headline Today were greeted by a vibrant and energetic Boss Chun. He'd been gone for a day, and now he was strutting around like a victorious rooster. That morning, all Headline Today users received an internal message. Bloggers with over 100,000 followers could contact the back office to receive a simple but lucrative part-time job. Dozens of students signed up immediately. All they had to do was post a pre-written piece of copy. Nothing else was required. The number of sign-ups grew, and by the afternoon, there were over 200. To manage them, Cole had each of his department heads, except for Wyatt, create a Facebook Messenger group to manage a small batch of bloggers. It was Tuesday, and by 2 in the afternoon, Luna was already at the office. She saw that Cole was busy and it was hard to get a word with him, but she wasn't disappointed. She sat obediently in the customer service area and handled the expense reports. A day later, Jasmine arrived. Her job was to take the auditing and customer service teams, along with some of the campus beauties and heartthrobs they'd hired from various departments, and shoot a new series of promotional photos. The core of the campaign was, to put it bluntly, thirst trapping. The theme was, guys, tons of hot girls use headline today. Girls, headline today has tons of hot guys. When Cole announced this theme, Fiona and Whitney questioned it, saying it might be too lowbrow. Cole exercised his veto power. As facts would later prove, lowbrow humor was exactly what the masses loved most. Was Coconut Palm brand coconut milk so popular because the milk was delicious? No, it was because the ads were hot. And all those female streamers on TikTok in the future, was it just because of their positive energy? Yes, lots and lots of positive energy. The area downstairs from the Venture Lab was once again swarming with people, both boys and girls. Headline Today always paid its part-time workers on the spot and never late, so everyone was eager to participate. The girls weren't all campus beauties anymore. As long as they were decent looking, a little makeup could make them look like a celebrity. Isabel, Cora, and Julia were there. They were freshmen, still fresh meat, and they weren't about to pass up this chance to get some exposure. When Cole came downstairs to speak, he was immediately surrounded. It wasn't just them. Other girls and several handsome boys closed in as well. The boys had a kind of Jonas Brothers vibe. As for campus heartthrobs, Cole could count as one, though he lacked that boyish feel. His aura was more masculine, a bit more rugged than some K-pop star, but a bit fairer than a Hollywood action hero. In any case, he thought he was pretty damn cool. Standing in the middle of the crowd of boys and girls, he looked completely confident. All right, everyone, I've asked you all here today because I want to make you famous. I only have one requirement. You have to show off your best assets without reservation. Cole, I've got long legs, a girl called out, laughing and raising her hand. Boss Chun, I've got a tiny waist. Cole, It was unclear if the guys had six-packs, and they weren't as handsome as Boss Chun, but their boyish charm was very appealing to a certain demographic. This time, Cora and her friends were too embarrassed to jump in. It was just too awkward facing Cole after talking smack about him at North Lake a while back. I'm just here for the exposure. He was okay before, but now he's not really my type, Cora whispered, trying desperately to save face. Isabel shot her a complicated look. Everyone knows you failed to get his contact info, and you're still trying to act tough? But then she saw Julia raise her hand, a seductive smile on her face. Boss Chun, whatever you want to shoot, I'll cooperate. Jasmine narrowed her eyes, her expression turning cold. She casually glanced at her brother, saw that he was acting completely normal, and then turned her head away, satisfied. Since everyone understands the key points, let's get going, Cole said, ignoring Julia's flirtatious look. If she's this good-looking, she might as well take more pictures. It's free promotion for Headline Today. Sensing Cole's indifference, Julia's eyes filled with disappointment and resentment. She had the face, the legs, the chest. It didn't make sense that he wasn't interested. She glanced at Jasmine. Didn't they have a fight the other day? The planning department and two newly hired admin assistants followed Jasmine, leading the massive group away. They headed to a small auditorium they had rented for makeup and set design. It took 2 full days. Finally, they selected the most suitable ad copy. It was as direct and simple as a coconut palm ad, yet so subtle it almost didn't seem like an ad at all. Then they released it across numerous blogs. It was bound to have an effect. How big an effect was still unknown. This was a test run for Cole. The investment cost wouldn't be too high. Next, he might try bus and bus stop ads, or the light boxes on top of taxis. A nationwide rollout was unrealistic for now. That would require massive amounts of capital. The blog promotion needed a few days to incubate, so they could observe the user registration data. Cole took over a customer service desk and started browsing the quality of some of the smaller independent media outlets on Headline Today. Whitney walked in, holding a spreadsheet. Boss Chun, the ad revenue report from the 6 city offices are out. Take a look. Cole took the sheet and looked. Whoa, not bad. The top performer was Atlanta, with over $246,000. You can imagine the paychecks for the Atlanta office staff were going to be very nice last month. The revenue from these 6 offices was nearly on par with Rockford. Considering they were far from headquarters and had a small staff, this was excellent. Yvonne from the marketing department also came in. Boss Chun, our total registered users have reached 3.9 million, with about 2 million daily active users. Cole nodded. The report was from the end of last month, and the users were all college students, which explained the high activity rate. Starting this month, they would begin to attract users from the general public. The money they'd brought in would keep them burning for a while longer. Once the data from a blog promotion came in, he would invest in other forms of advertising. Beep, 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 beep. His phone buzzed. All right, Cole said. Planning department, split into 3 teams, appoint 3 team leaders, and have them handle different commercial ads. Hire more people. Yvonne, you'll establish a commercial division to manage both the marketing and promotions departments. We're separating ad sales from promotion, and we'll implement this at the branch offices. You recommend the managers, and I'll review them. Okay, Boss Chun. Yvonne and Whitney were both delighted. Who didn't like more people and more power? After they left, Cole opened his messenger. It was Jasmine. Pick me up for dinner at 5:30. I have something to ask you tonight. Okay, sis. Cole sensed trouble. She hadn't even called him by his pet name. The anger she'd been bottling up for days was probably about to explode. At 5:30 sharp, Cole was waiting at the gate of Eastwood Tech. As usual, he had to wait nearly 20 minutes before Jasmine finally emerged from the school gate, striding on her long legs. She wore a trench coat, jeans, and sneakers, with her hair tied up in a bun. It was a common look, but on her regal face, it was incredibly eye-catching, drawing the attention of both guys and girls wherever she went. From several feet away, Jasmine took off her shoulder bag and tossed it to Cole. Carry it. You got it, sis. Cole, the simp, grinned and slung it over his shoulder. What do you want to eat, sis? You. All right, dig in. Cole leaned his face closer, catching the scent of her recent shower. Get away from me. Jasmine pushed his face away with a look of mild annoyance. Cole just grinned and offered her his arm. Let's go, sis. Jasmine being angry wasn't scary. She was all bark and no bite. It was when she went silent that you had to be careful. Sure enough, her hand slipped into the crook of his arm. Look at you. You drive me crazy. She sounded fierce, but her arm was linked tightly with his. They wandered down the street, nibbling on whatever caught their eye. Jasmine never brought up what she wanted to ask, and Cole didn't press. She would say it when she was ready. Let's go buy some fruit over there, Jasmine said, pointing to a fruit stand on the right. Okay. The shops on the right were elevated up a set of 4 steps. Jasmine went first, and Cole followed behind, his eyes casually glancing at her shoes. His roguish eyes lit up. His sister usually wore short white socks with her sneakers, but just now as she stepped up he had caught a glimpse of black. Cole's heart skipped a beat, then another, then a big one. Could it be that tonight wasn't about being interrogated, but about being rewarded for all his hard work lately? It's possible. At the thought, Cole's heart started pounding, and his face began to flush. He took a few deep breaths, trying to stay calm. After buying the fruit, Jasmine obediently let him lead her toward the Golden Bay residences. He was even more certain now. Am I getting a special treat tonight? Upon entering apartment 2201, Cole went to the bathroom first to send reassuring messages to Serena and Luna. When he came out, he found Jasmine standing there, her face an icy mask. She pointed to the bedroom. Move a chair in there. And sit down. Cole was confused for a moment, then sighed internally. Looks like the eruption is still coming. He obediently moved a chair from the dining table into the bedroom, placed it in an empty space, and sat down, waiting for her to unleash her temper. She was all talk anyway. A little anger was good for the relationship. Jasmine walked in with her hands behind her back and stood behind his chair. Don't move. Just sit there. Don't move a muscle. Sis, what are you doing? Cole's mind was full of question marks, but he did as he was told. Nothing. I have some questions for you. Jasmine hadn't called him by his pet name all night. Oh, Cole didn't struggle. He would just let her do her thing. Jasmine went to the bed and pulled the curtains shut. Then she walked back and turned off the lights. Then she left the room. He heard the sound of the living room curtains being drawn. A moment later, light from under the door vanished as the living room lights were also turned off. Complete darkness. Cole was bewildered. What's she doing? A dance? A moment later, the door creaked open. A shadow entered. The sweet scent was unmistakably Jasmine's. Click. The light turned on. Cole turned his head to look, and his jaw dropped. A white, lacy, ultra-short pleated skirt, paired with the lacy camisole top he'd seen in that photo. Her long legs were a stark contrast of black and white, the black straps creating even more intricate patterns. She was barefoot, which was why he hadn't heard her come in. Seeing the usually reserved and elegant Jasmine in this getup, which was common in his past life, magnified the visual impact by more than 100 times. While Cole was still dumbfounded, Jasmine had already glided gracefully to the edge of the bed and sat down, crossing her legs elegantly. She propped herself up with one hand, showcasing her enchanting curves like a queen, and looked down at her brother with an imperious gaze. All right, start talking, she said coldly. How many new girls have you added on Messenger? Huh. Cole was a little dazed. He swallowed hard. I haven't added any. Oomph. There were so many that day. I saw quite a few who were very enthusiastic toward you. Jasmine sneered. Really, I haven't, sis. You can look at my phone if you don't believe me. Cole was sure she wouldn't. It wasn't her habit. She was just looking for a fight. Luna told me there was one who even came to the tea alchemist several times to find you, always trying to seduce you. Is that true? Jasmine stood up and swayed her hips as she walked toward Cole. Her bare feet moved lightly on the wooden floor like two alluring sprites. Oh, I remember now. There was someone like that. But I never paid her any attention, Cole explained hastily, his eyes glued to her, unable to move. Sis, what are you doing? I can't take this. You haven't tied it up properly. The next moment, the flesh of his cheek was pinched and twisted. Ow, that hurts. So, you know what pain is? You really put on a show that day, didn't you? A masterclass in acting. Jasmine sneered. At first, she'd only had a small suspicion, but seeing him cry so miserably, she'd forgotten all about it. But after thinking it over for the next 2 nights, she realized something wasn't right. That bastard was the type to put on an act when things went wrong. His concern for her was definitely real. But there was no way that idiot would just wander around campus randomly. He knew she was often in the library, but he deliberately didn't go there. That was the biggest clue. Sis, what are you talking about? I don't understand. A wave of panic hit Cole. How could she have figured it out? Didn't I cry hard enough? It was real crying. I was genuinely upset. None of it was fake. You don't understand? A smirk played on Jasmine's lips, a look of I see right through you. She began to grind her heel into Cole's thigh. The sharp, aching pressure made him grimace. Damn, you're resorting to torture. Admitting it was impossible. At most, he just didn't go to the library. So that didn't count as acting, right? His ear was pinched next. Tell me, were you acting? No, I really don't know what you're talking about. You're wrongly accusing me, sob. Cole denied it to the death, even trying to play the victim. The next second, his hair was grabbed, pulling his head straight. Look at me. Today's Jasmine was merciless. Cole could only stare at the seductive, mesmerizing, yet coldly interrogating Jasmine, feeling like he was about to cry. This kind of torment, who could understand it? I've known you since we were kids. You think I don't know you? I know you were acting. I just want to hear you say it yourself. If you say it, I won't be mad anymore, Jasmine said lightly, switching legs to continue her grinding. Ouch, ouch. That hurts. Cole stuck his tongue out in pain. His eyes were feasting, but his leg was in agony. It was a hell of ice and fire. Seeing that Cole wasn't faking his pain, Jasmine's heart softened. She was already mortified wearing this outfit, held together only by her sheer willpower. But if she didn't torture this bastard a little, she wouldn't feel right. He was attracting so many women. If she didn't teach him a lesson, what would happen in the future? With that thought, she suppressed her soft-heartedness again. She gave Cole a flirtatious wink and said in a soft voice, You know it hurts, so just say it. Resistance will be met with severity, confession with leniency. I really wasn't. It was a genuine outpouring of emotion, absolutely undiluted. Cole's mind was crystal clear. If he admitted there was an element of performance, that's when she would get truly angry. Women were so strange, always changing. If you don't admit it, she gets mad. If you admit it, she gets even madder. Faced with 2 bad options, he chose the lesser evil. So Cole told himself, no matter what, he could not yield. Cole could have moved, could have gotten up and walked away. But it was as if her words had magically shackled him, and he sat obediently in the chair. Cooperating with his sister was what mattered most. You're right, it wasn't diluted. Your brain is so full of acting skills, it's pure concentrate. You could teach a class. Jasmine huffed. No way. Sis, you're slandering me, Cole said, feeling the embarrassment of being exposed. You know whether you were or not. Not talking, are we? Jasmine gave a delicate snort and glided to the side of Cole's chair. Her walk was graceful and seductive, exuding femininity. Her fragrant little face pressed against the left side of his neck, her chin resting on his shoulder. Her warm breath tickled his ear, making him itch, while his heart felt like a kitten was scratching at it. Jasmine's soft, flirty voice whispered by his ear, Just tell me if you were faking it, and I'll grant you one wish. It could be a very naughty one, you know? The words were like a siren's song, drilling into Cole's heart, almost making him blurt out, How naughty can it be? No. Cole secretly bit his tongue, forcing himself to endure the torment, to remain unmoved. Instead, his voice grew deeper, his gaze filled with affection as he said, word by word, Sis, everything I felt at that moment was real. I was that worried about you, that concerned, that afraid I'd never see you again. I would rather lose headline today and the tea alchemist than lose you. You are my everything. This was the absolute truth, not a single drop of falsehood. If something were to happen to Jasmine in this life, he could die 100 times, and it wouldn't be enough to atone for it. His sister, who spoiled him and doted on him, was a priceless treasure. He had been a fool not to realize it before, but it wasn't too late now. Cole also had to admit he was pretty shameless, wanting two others as well. There was no sound from behind him, only the sound of breathing. Then, the fragrant face left his shoulder. Cole continued to pour out his heart. My mind went completely blank. The thought of a world without you filled me with terror. All the emotions were real. He wasn't lying. The next second, his collar was pulled open, and a sharp pain erupted on his shoulder. Cole didn't move. He just tilted his head slightly, stroking Jasmine's face. As long as it made his sister happy, he would do anything. At that moment, Jasmine's teeth were clamped down, expressing both her dissatisfaction and her satisfaction. It was an incredibly complex and strange emotion. Whether her brother was acting or not, it all represented his feelings and his care for her. The dissatisfaction was about what had happened before. The satisfaction was because her brother had panicked for her sake. Jasmine's mind was filled with her brother's words. Every word struck a chord in her heart. She didn't doubt his sincerity, but the more sincere he was, the harder she bit. Who knows how much time passed? Jasmine finally let go. Does it hurt? Yes. Jasmine was very satisfied with his answer. She leaned down and cleaned the area. The burning pain made Cole's body tremble. He watched as his sister walked briskly to the nightstand, picked up the remote, and turned on the air conditioner with a beep. She seemed to be intentionally showing off her beauty. Every step she took was especially feminine. If you wanted to know who knew best how to display the beauty of their body, it was undoubtedly a girl with a good sense of dance. After turning on the AC, she immediately walked back. Her face was flushed with a captivating blush, her eyes seemingly calm, yet tinged with shyness. She met Cole's fiery gaze, leaned over his shoulder, and pulled his collar open to admire her handiwork. She traced the mark with her fingertip, occasionally poking it. Feeling Cole tremble, a triumphant smile appeared on Jasmine's lips. She was going to torture him, watch him suffer in agony. Even though she was suffering herself, well, that's just how girls were. With that one bite, the unhappiness in her heart dissipated. It felt so good. The room fell silent. Cole could feel the change in his sister's mood, and his heart relaxed. But his body couldn't relax. It only grew more tense. He heard Jasmine suddenly ask in his ear, "Who's the prettiest?" "You are." It was the only answer Cole could give. The last time his sister had asked this was the last time. Then who has the best body? Her voice sounded in his ear again, her tone unreadable. "You." Cole didn't hesitate. "Then who's the biggest?" "You." "Bullshit. You liar." Jasmine poked the bite mark with her fingertip, making Cole jolt in pain. To ease the pain, he planted a kiss on her pale white neck. Jasmine let out a soft amen and shrank her neck. Cole chuckled, greedily continuing his kisses. As long as she sat like this, she couldn't escape. Jasmine stretched her neck, occasionally shrinking back, but she didn't pull away. For Cole, this was pure indulgence. Where he couldn't see, a smile that was a mixture of pleasure and triumph appeared on Jasmine's lips. "Let's see who's suffering more. I'll make you squirm." Her goal tonight was to inflict torture. Cole pursued her fragrant red lips. The lips dodged. Jasmine let out a soft huff. "Don't even think about it." The words were against her will, because she wanted herself. But she knew that once they kissed, her heart would soften. "Sis, a kiss," Cole pleaded shamelessly. Jasmine dodged for a little while, but the defenses around her heart gradually crumbled. In the end, she was defeated. "You're so annoying." Cole's breath quickly intoxicated her, and she lost herself in the passionate kiss. The sweet, lingering kiss seemed like it would never end. Jasmine was completely unaware that a pair of hands had already wrapped around her slender waist. The quiet room was filled with only the sound of kissing. "Let go." Jasmine slapped at Cole's arm, annoyed. She was furious with herself for being so easily swept away again. She shouldn't have kissed him. Kissing him always led to trouble. "No, let go. No." Jasmine struggled symbolically for a few moments. Her anger had subsided, but she still had to come down from her high horse gracefully. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing. Smack! A sharp sound echoed. Jasmine was both embarrassed and angry. "You actually hit me. You've gotten bold, haven't you?" "Yes, sis. I've grown up. It used to be you who spanked me. Now it's my turn." Cole's gaze was deep and full of affection, his face red from the rush of blood. "You're turning this world upside down." Jasmine's words were cut off by a gasp of ah. Cole had already lifted her up and was carrying her with light steps toward the bed. Then he tossed her down like a doll. Oof! Jasmine cried out. She noticed a strange look in her brother's eyes and panicked, quickly grabbing the blanket to cover her legs. Cole, calm down, she cried, her heart in a flutter. Things seem to be getting out of control. I'm calm, sis, Cole said, moving closer. Cole, calm down, Cole. You promised me. The usually proud Jasmine curled up helplessly, hugging herself. Her pretty face was flushed, and her eyes held a trace of fear, yet also a hint of anticipation. She was utterly conflicted. Cole lay down beside her, gently taking her delicate chin and turning her face toward him. The light touch of his lips once again silenced her inner conflict. She couldn't muster any anger at all. A short while later, Cole, you can't. Jasmine shook her head frantically. What? You can't. Can't what, sis? I don't understand. Cole's voice grew deeper, like a warm breath in her ear. You bad thing. I'll hit you. Jasmine raised her hand threateningly in embarrassment. But that was hardly enough to scare Cole. Sis, I want. That whispered sentence sent Jasmine's heart into a panicked flurry. She asked, her face beet red. What do you want? I want. What? I didn't hear you. Okay. I didn't even hear you. You bad thing, what are you doing? But no matter how much Jasmine struggled, it was useless. And perhaps, deep down, she didn't want to push him away. She knew what her brother was about to do. She no longer had the heart to stop him. At this age, it probably wouldn't have a big impact. And besides, they were surrounded by danger. If one day, in a moment of carelessness, her fiery brother was stolen away by someone else, she would have no one to cry to but herself. Her brother had to be hers. That was the bottom line. Men and women were the same. They always remembered their first time. It wasn't that she was open-minded about these things. It was that she saw through them. Since starting her junior year, she had seen and heard countless stories. Compared to those playboys who flitted from flower to flower, her Cole was already very good. He had such beautiful girls around him, but he still listened to her. If it were anyone else, even a slight temptation from someone like Yvonne would have them completely mesmerized, let alone girls like Serena and Luna. Especially Luna. The fact that Cole could resist her, all to obey her wishes, what more could she be dissatisfied with? In this world, men, rich or poor, were all the same. Some just wore a mask of righteousness, while others let it all hang out. As Cole became richer, the women throwing themselves at him would be like a river of carp. Jasmine had long been worried about this, especially after seeing those girls who looked like they wanted to eat him alive the other day. She was afraid he wouldn't be able to control himself and would fall into a honey trap. Better for him to fall in her trap, so deep he could never climb out, than to fall into someone else's. Sis, MMM. Their noses brushed against each other, the atmosphere unspeakably sweet and intimate. Sis, I'm almost 19. That's basically 20, Cole said softly. So what do you want? Jasmine's voice trembled. She knew the answer, but asked anyway. She was already prepared. She was almost 22. If she held out any longer, she'd be an old maid. Her friends in medical school had actually said 19 or 20 was fine. As long as it wasn't excessive, it wouldn't affect anything. I want all of you, sis. The words were unnecessary, but sometimes saying them out loud was an aphrodisiac. Cole knew this well, and Jasmine fell for it every time. She loved it when her brother expressed his possessiveness. The light in her eyes melted into a deep tenderness. All of me has always been yours. Didn't you know? Of course I know. I mean, I want you to be completely and utterly mine, to leave my mark on you. Jasmine's face was flushed. She stroked Cole's cheek. Cole, will you love me for a lifetime? I will. Cole stroked her hot cheek in return and said, without a trace of hesitation, this woman who spoiled him, he would love her for a lifetime, until his last breath. With a passion she had never shown before, Jasmine kissed Cole, as if she had made some momentous decision. Cole, I love you. I love you too. The only thing Cole had to do now was to be clumsy, like a beginner. He couldn't let his sister see that he was a seasoned veteran, but he also had to get her through the initial discomfort smoothly, which was a true test of his acting skills. A slight pain pricked Cole's back. It was Jasmine's fingernails digging in. The night deepened. Some people cuddled in the silent darkness, whispering sweet nothings in voices high and low. And some poor saps could only get drunk alone in the quiet night, or get drunk with friends, pretending to enjoy the single life. In the dead of night, a woman's angry shout suddenly erupted from one of the buildings. Who is that? Shut the hell up. Are you trying to let people sleep? What the hell are you singing for? You could tell from her voice she was a lonely, frustrated woman. It didn't affect a thing. From the darkest point of midnight until the first hint of light appeared on the horizon, the March weather was surprisingly hot. Even the air conditioner couldn't quite keep up. It made one sweat profusely. Even though Jasmine was very fit, she was facing a seasoned, fiery, and ravenous tiger. It was naturally an arduous battle, and she only managed to endure through sheer force of will. It was almost noon. The two were still fast asleep in a corner of the bed. The rest of the bed was a complete mess. In the center of the cream-colored sheet was a crimson stain, smeared into an abstract painting. Cole looked at the exhausted but beautiful face in his arms and felt a twinge of guilt. He hadn't been able to hold back. He had been a bit relentless, a bit crazy. Perhaps sensing the light, Jasmine's eyelashes fluttered. She opened her eyes and looked at Cole in a daze. Her soft black hair covered her cheek, spilling onto his chest. The discomfort in her body made her frown slightly. She closed her eyes again, snuggling her face closer to his chest to get more comfortable. Cole wasn't sleepy at all, feeling full of energy. He just held her, waiting for her to wake up. He replied to a few messages in his group chats, letting the team at Headline Today know that Boss Chun was paying attention to work even if he couldn't be there in person. He had set his phone to silent in the morning, afraid of waking his sister. She slept until past 2 in the afternoon. Jasmine finally woke up. Her first words were, "Cole, how are you so good at this?" For what she knew of her brother, his clumsy act was completely unconvincing. Could it be that he'd learned from watching a lot of movies? That bastard. She'd never found anything when she checked his computer before. At that thought, she angrily pinched the skin on his stomach, delivering a harsh punishment. Hiss. Oof. That hurts. A pinch of belly fat was surprisingly painful. Cole sucked in a sharp breath. Sis, I haven't watched anything, I swear. In any case, that was from his past life and had nothing to do with his current self, so he wasn't afraid to swear. But he knew how to appease her. He tightened his embrace, stroked her cheek, and said in a deep voice, "I was just lost in the beautiful world of you. Everything happened naturally. It's not something you can learn. You and that silver tongue of yours," Jasmine grumbled, shooting him a sideways glance. The mix of shyness and coquettishness in her expression clearly indicated she had accepted his answer. She glanced at her mark on his shoulder, and a wave of infinite satisfaction washed over her. But her face still wore a look of annoyance. "You don't feel sorry for me at all." "Of course I do. My heart aches for you." "Then why were you like a madman last night?" "I couldn't control myself. The more beautiful you are, the crazier I get. You're just trying to sweet-talk me. I want to sweet-talk you for a lifetime. A head full of sweet nothings. Who knows if they're true or not? But you like it, don't you?" "Yes." The sweet, syrupy words between them seemed endless. For the entire day, the injured Jasmine didn't have to get out of bed. Cole changed the sheets and served her food and drink. He even carried her to the bathroom to wash up. If she had let him, he would have wiped her bottom too. He took care of her with meticulous attention to every detail. Jasmine opened her mouth to accept a piece of food from Cole's chopsticks. She looked at him and said, "I'm warning you. You're not allowed to mess with other women, especially those with ulterior motives. Do you hear me?" "I hear you, sis. I can definitely do that." Cole obediently raised the hand holding the chopsticks. This wasn't a lie. Besides his 2 other babies, he really hadn't been tempted by anyone else. Jasmine's gaze deepened as she continued. "And as for Serena and Luna, I'm keeping a tally for now. If they leave you one day, that's their own choice. It has nothing to do with me." "Huh? Sis, I really don't have an intimate relationship with them." Cole dodged the question guiltily. If intimate meant what happened last night, then he really didn't. He wasn't sure what his sister meant and had to test the waters first. "I know very well whether you do or not. Don't think I don't know. You think your little tricks can fool me? The second you bend over, I know what kind of fart you're about to let out." Jasmine shot him a look. Last night was 100% Cole's first time. It was too obvious. Her face flushed a little again, but deep down, she felt a profound satisfaction. That was what was important. Cole gave a sheepish smile. No wonder his mother said Jasmine was the smartest one in both families. Maybe she knew he had issues from the very beginning. But why didn't she expose him sooner? That was what Cole was extremely curious about. How could his sister tolerate it? It didn't make sense. Asking her directly would obviously be foolish, so he brought up another matter. "Sis, was last night really okay? Do you want it to be okay or not okay?" Jasmine's expression was a half smile. "If there's a baby, we'll have it. I'll have your mom quit her job and come take care of you," Cole said decisively. There could be no hesitation on this point. He should have gone out to buy something, but he really didn't want to leave the apartment. If she was pregnant, he would insist on having the baby. He wouldn't let her take any pills or have a procedure. The toll on her body would be too great. As for the other 2 babies, he would just have to find a way to explain. At least you have a conscience. My period just ended yesterday, so it's a safe time, but there's still a tiny chance. I can't have a baby right now. I still have grad school, Jasmine said, shooting him a satisfied look. She had no plans to have a child now, not just because of grad school, but for other reasons as well. After feeding her, Cole tenderly wiped her mouth. Then he heard Jasmine suddenly say, "Are you curious why I can tolerate it?" The question stunned Cole. He was indeed curious, desperately curious. What woman could tolerate the existence of others? He wasn't some tycoon from Hong Kong, and his sister wasn't short on money. Why would she put up with this? "Come here. I have something to tell you," Jasmine said, patting the edge of the bed. Cole quickly took the empty food containers to the living room and then sat down beside her. "Sis, what is it? You know your Aunt Helen's health isn't good." Jasmine took Cole's hand. "I know," Cole nodded. "My mother's mother only had one daughter. After giving birth, her health was very poor, and she passed away not long after." Cole nodded again. He knew this. His current maternal grandmother was his grandfather's second wife, who had raised his mother. She was a good person, so they had always gotten along well. "And your Aunt Helen only has me, and her health isn't great either. If it weren't for our good living conditions now, there might be danger. Do you understand?" A trace of sadness appeared in the depths of Jasmine's eyes. She continued, "I don't know what will happen to me either. I'm afraid it might be hereditary. If both our families have no descendants, I won't be able to face your parents." "Sis, that won't happen. Don't think like that." Cole hugged her, his heart aching. "But what if it does? The doctor said it might be recessive, that the signs would only appear after pregnancy," Jasmine murmured, nestling in her brother's arms. "I'm also afraid that something will happen to me in the future, that I won't be able to stay with you for long." As she spoke, her eyes began to fill with mist. Her voice choked up. "Cole, will you blame me for being selfish? For still trying to control you even with all this? How could I?" "Sis, I'm willing to be controlled by you forever," Cole said, overcome with emotion, willing to say anything. "Really?" Jasmine looked at him quietly, her eyes shimmering with tears, as if deeply moved. Then she blinked. The tears vanished. She grabbed Cole's ear and twisted hard. "Then if the genetic tests come back and show there's nothing wrong, guess what your sister will do?" "Huh?" Cole, his ear in her grip, was completely dumbfounded. "Wait, you're acting too?" Jasmine's words left Cole momentarily stunned, a sudden, chilling awareness of the intellectual gap between them. She was always so understated, her sharp insight hidden beneath a calm surface, never one to call someone out directly. Except for those moments when he could sweet-talk her into a daze, she was sharp as a tack. One second she was genuinely lost in sadness, the next she had him completely pinned. The implication was clear. If it weren't for the hereditary illness, she would be the one calling all the shots. As a wave of concern for her health washed over him, a new anxiety began to creep in. What about Serena and Luna? If Jasmine ever decided to truly play the game, they wouldn't stand a chance. But Cole knew his kind-hearted Jasmine wasn't capable of true cruelty. Her version of warfare would be a campaign of ideological work. Guessing her motives was impossible. The only way to handle Jasmine was to obey. After a split second of bewilderment, Cole leaned in until their foreheads touched, his voice dropping to a near-worshipful whisper. "My beautiful Jasmine, you're my whole world. Whatever you say goes." The warmth of his breath on her skin sent a faint blush across her cheeks. She was a total sucker for this, even knowing he was just buttering her up. The thought wasn't what mattered. The attitude was everything. She relaxed her grip on his ear and gently bit his chin, her expression softening into a look of fond resignation. "You were born to be the death of me." Cole grinned, seizing the opportunity. "Then you'll have to have my daughter and name her. Jasmine's Bane. And if it's a son, we'll call him Jasmine's Conqueror. In your dreams. His last name will be Young, and we'll call him Cole's Demise," she shot back, pushing his face away. "Now, whatever you want. I'm good with anything. But you'll have to convince your parents." Cole said it as a joke, but he suspected her parents wouldn't actually object. "It's too soon to be thinking about that," Jasmine said, rolling her eyes. "Then let's think about what's right in front of us." Cole pressed his face close again, his hand moving to the collar of her pajama top. He tugged it aside, revealing the bare skin beneath, and kissed her neck. "You little devil," she murmured, a protest without any force. "Can't you let me rest for a minute?" The complaint was on her lips, but the kiss conquered her instantly. All she could do was run her fingers through his hair in response. She knew he was just trying to change the subject, but what could she do? She let him. They spent the rest of the day tangled up together, though, with her still recovering, they had to declare a temporary ceasefire. The faster she healed, the more fun they could have later. Cole managed to restrain himself. The next morning, Cole was at the Headline Today office. As intoxicating as beauty was, work still had to be done. The team noticed something different about him. He seemed reinvigorated, a vibrant, masculine energy radiating from his every move. In the small conference room, Yvonne leaned a little closer while giving her report, sniffing the air. Her expression turned strange. "Boss, have you been up to no good? You got a weird smell on you. What kind of nose do you have? Stop talking nonsense. Have you finalized the new hires?" Cole shot her a look. "Not yet. It's not that fast. I have to test them, you know." Yvonne was still studying him, convinced she'd caught a special scent, a distinctly masculine aura. It was just like the weird description she'd read on internet forums, some kind of postcoital pheromone that, while having no specific smell, was instantly recognizable. In other words, Cole had been very, very busy. But with who? Get it done as soon as possible. Once the app is out, we'll need to set up a market analysis department. Time is tight, and we need to train more capable people. Cole scanned Yvonne's list of candidates, reading her notes and putting a star next to the ones he thought had potential. "My opinion is just for reference. If you think someone is a perfect fit, make the call, but you'll be responsible for it." "Got it, boss." Yvonne nodded. One of the best things about Cole was how much he respected her authority, never interfering unnecessarily. It was crucial for her credibility in the business department. You couldn't lead a team of sales and marketing reps without it. It was one of the reasons she found him more and more attractive. There was just something about him that made her want to. Well, she had a sudden, wild impulse, especially after catching that manly scent. "Could you stop looking at me like you're about to eat me?" Cole shifted uncomfortably. Yvonne's stare was intense. His standards had been raised recently, and he was getting picky. "TCH, you wish. I'm out of here." Flustered and annoyed at being caught, Yvonne spun on her heel and walked out. The moment the door closed, her face flushed crimson. For a second, she'd pictured a scene from some trashy fanfiction, with her screaming no, as some guy got. Ugh, that arrogant man. What's so great about him anyway? Next to report was Whitney. She had finalized the 3 team leaders for the planning department, 2 senior guys and 1 senior girl, all from the original team. It was a step up for all of them. "Cole, we're out of office space," Whitney reminded him. "I know. I'll solve it in the next couple of days." Cole had already been thinking about it. He'd asked Tanya from the venture lab, but the news wasn't good. The incubator had no more offices available, and even if they did, they wouldn't give another one to Headline Today. Resources were limited and had to be prioritized for students with research projects. With his team growing, their 2 small offices felt cramped and unprofessional. After finishing his work, Cole called Vanessa Fan to make sure she was in her office. Then he poked his head into Yvonne's workspace. "Director Wong, come with me to the gallery." "Boss, I've still got work to do," Yvonne said, still smarting for being called out. "Fine, I'll go by myself." Cole turned to leave. "Hey, wait up." Yvonne scrambled to follow, fuming internally. She, Yvonne Wong, was a beauty by any standard, but Cole Chin acted like she was invisible. But what could she expect from a guy who had 3 goddesses wrapped around his finger and had probably just devoured one of them? He was only bringing her because he was worried Lynn, Vanessa's quiet daughter, might get overprotective and cause a scene. Bringing his director of operations would have been the most appropriate choice, but she was currently at home, recovering in bed. Thinking of his director of operations, a fire ignited in Cole's gut. Jasmine had told him the pain was almost gone. Didn't that mean that tonight? Hith. Her constitution was amazing. She recovered so quickly. Tonight, he would be at full power, riding free across the plains. They arrived at the high-rise office building at the gallery, at the offices of Caspian Catering, LLC. "You want to rent an office here?" Vanessa asked, surprised, after he explained his purpose. Was Headline Today growing that fast? It was. What she didn't know was that Cole had spent almost none of the money on himself. Every cent was poured back into operations. Aside from food, he'd been wearing the same few pairs of boxers all semester, the fabric on the seat worn thin enough to see through. If Jasmine hadn't taken over his wardrobe, he'd probably wear them for another semester. "Yes, Ms. Fan. I'm looking for something around 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. I figured you'd know this building well, so I came to you for some inside info," Cole said, flashing his most charming boy-next-door smile. He didn't ask about the gallery directly, afraid he couldn't afford it. Vanessa was well-connected. Maybe she knew of other suitable locations. If the gallery's price was right, even better. It was always smarter to get inside information than to go through a broker. Vanessa didn't answer immediately. She twirled the pen in her hand, thinking for a few seconds before smiling. "You came to the right place. I have a suggestion for you to consider." "Please, Ms. Fan, I'm all ears," Cole said, his spirits lifting. Vanessa spoke slowly, deliberately. There's half a floor vacant in this building right now. With a little effort, I could clear out the whole floor for you. If headline today continues to grow, you'll definitely need it. Ms. Fan, a whole floor is way too big. I could never afford that, Cole laughed. It's free. Vanessa smiled as she said the word, but it didn't make Cole happy. There was no such thing as a free lunch. Sure enough, she laid out her terms. Free for headline today to use. And I'll put in additional cash to invest in the company. I don't want much, just 20%. Lynn will be the equity holder. Ms. Fan, I'm afraid that's an offer I can't accept, Cole said, shaking his head. The future of headline today is still uncertain, and I wouldn't dare drag you into it. Besides, we're not short on capital at the moment. Giving up equity was absolutely out of the question. Cole had no intention of even seeking venture capital, at least not yet. When the time came for massive expansion, he could reconsider. It was unrealistic for a company to grow huge without other shareholders. Every major corporation had powerful people in the background, some who only invested a symbolic amount for a small stake, waiting for the dividends. But he wouldn't do it unless he had someone on his side powerful enough to counter them. Vanessa didn't seem surprised by his answer, though her gaze grew a little more complex. That's fine. If you change your mind in the future, Cole, you can let me know anytime. She paused. I have another option. I can arrange a space for you. No less than 3,000 square feet. Also free. No talk of investment. From her slightly coquettish eyes, Cole saw nothing but calculation. Just say what you want, Ms. Fan, he thought, even as his face showed eager anticipation for the 3,000 square foot office. He was certain it wasn't a condition for marriage. He wasn't that great. Vanessa seemed to blush slightly before continuing. How about letting Lynn come learn at your company? You can give her any job. Just help me mentor her a bit. That's the condition for a 2,000 to 3,000 square foot office. Cole and Yvonne exchanged bewildered looks. Paying to get a job? An arranged marriage. Yvonne glanced at Cole in astonishment. Are you secretly the main character in some billionaire romance novel? How is this even happening? Cole's thoughts ran deeper. Ms. Fan, are you trying to plan a spy to figure out my secrets, then launch a rival site called Skullnet or something? As for the marriage idea, he didn't give a second thought. Was he the only man in the entire city of Rockford? Ms. Fan was a wealthy woman. She wouldn't need to resort to that. After years of cutthroat competition in his past life, his mind was a tangled mess of cynicism. He'd once been so superstitious he'd tried a trick from a meme, pouring boiling water on a competitor's money tree. It proved useless. The other guy's plan did die, but his own was stolen, pot and all, by some girl in a face mask he could never identify. Ms. Fan, I don't quite understand. Wouldn't Lynn be better off learning from you? Vanessa looked at Yvonne apologetically. Miss Wong, could you mind stepping outside for a moment? I'd like to speak with Cole alone. Of course. You two talk. I'll go get a glass of water. Yvonne tactfully got up and left, closing the door behind her. 4. Some personal reasons. Lynn's personality is a bit withdrawn. She didn't go to college after high school. Otherwise, she'd be the same age as you, enjoying university life. The poise the beautiful woman had maintained finally cracked, revealing a trace of sorrow. I don't feel comfortable letting her go work somewhere else. If she's with you, I can see her often and look after her. The main thing is for her to interact more with people. Cole found the explanation plausible. Lynn did seem quiet and unsociable, a classic introvert. Every family had its own struggles. He wanted the 3,000 square feet, but he couldn't accept it for free. That was a debt he couldn't afford. After a moment's thought, Cole smiled and made his decision. Ms. Fan, I will be happy to have Lynn join Headline today. But how about this? I'd feel terrible taking the space for free. Could you give me a discount instead? Yeah, you're destined for big things, Cole. Vanessa wasn't surprised, a flicker of admiration in her eyes. She answered readily. That office is 2,800 square feet. I'll give it to you for $3 per square foot, all utilities included. A 5-year lease with market rate increases. No security deposit. How does that sound? That sounds more than okay, Ms. Fan. Thank you. Cole agreed without a second thought, his smile radiant. Rent in the gallery ranged from $4 to $6 a square foot, with building fees on top of that. Vanessa was essentially giving him a 40% discount. He had checked the office building across from Eastwood University, but there were no vacancies. The gallery was the best option, close to campus and with great transit access. Just help me look after Lynn. You can come sign the contract anytime. The office has a basic build-out. The cubicles are still there. You can move in and start working right away. Vanessa smiled, too. The money was nothing to her. It was like paying for a daycare for her daughter. Ms. Fan, you can have Lynn come with me to the office right now to get familiar with things, Cole offered. He even had a department in mind, Fiona's editorial team. She could just sit at a desk. She wouldn't have to take on too much. Perfect. That was exactly what Vanessa was waiting for. She immediately made a call, telling her daughter directly that she was going to work at Headline today. It seemed Lynn agreed. After hanging up, Vanessa smiled. She'll be here shortly. She actually sounded pretty happy about it. An hour later, back at the Headline Today office. Everyone stared curiously at the girl trailing behind Cole. She had straight-cut bangs, 2 large hoop earrings, and heavy, dark eyeshadow. She was pretty, but her expression was cold. It was only March, but she wore ripped jeans, patches of pale skin showing through the holes. Wasn't she cold? Everyone, I'd like to introduce our newest colleague at Headline Today, Lynn Fan. Let's give her a round of applause. A wave of applause filled the room. If the boss brought her in, there was nothing to say but clap. Lynn, why don't you introduce yourself? Just something simple, Cole said, giving her an encouraging look. Hi, I'm Lynn Fan. Lynn pursed her lips slightly, the closest she came to a smile. Fiona, could you come with me for a second? Cole motioned to Fiona. She followed him out to the small conference room. Just have her do something easy. She doesn't need to handle real editorial responsibilities unless she gets the hang of it. Don't worry, boss. Leave it to me. Fiona understood immediately. This was clearly a nepotism hire. They returned to the main office, and Cole said to Lynn, Lynn, you'll be working with Fiona. She'll show you the ropes. Okay, Lynn replied flatly, following Fiona to a desk in the editorial section. Fiona had Lynn sit at her own desk and began showing her some basic tasks. Cole left them to it. It didn't matter what Lynn did. Her work was basically uploading news articles, a task she could surely handle even if she wasn't qualified for the rest of the editor's job. Lynn's eyes scanned Fiona's screen and landed on her side hustle. The silent girl's eyes widened in shock. Director, Fiona, are you the author of The Billionaire's Heiress? Huh, maybe, Fiona chuckled awkwardly, quickly closing the tab. This was so embarrassing. I read that. I even sent you a tip. A spark of interest lit up in Lynn's eyes. Oh, so you're a long-time reader. Hith. Thank you. Fiona's fatigue vanished, replaced by the eager warmth of someone meeting a fan. But Lynn's next sentence made her expression freeze. I'm the one who argues with your fans in the comments. My username is Beer Bottle Cap. What? Your Beer Bottle Cap? There was a user named Beer Bottle Cap who constantly flamed Fiona online, sparking huge arguments with her fans. But then, the user would turn around and drop a massive tip. Fiona had conveniently chosen to be blind to the trolling. None of the heiresses you write are good people. In real life, a lot of them are actually mature and understanding. Lynn said, and suddenly the floodgates opened. Everyone in the office listened, stunned. It was as if she knew a lot of real-life heiresses. Did that mean she knew a real-life billionaire CEO, too? For the rest of the day, Cole didn't bother checking on how Lynn was doing. It didn't matter. Her mother was not only a major client, but was also paying for her to be there. As quitting time approached, Cole's mind was already flying back to his fully recovered Jasmine. Ha. Ding. His Facebook Messenger notification went off. He opened it. It was Jasmine. Jasmine. Hey, I'm back on campus. I left the key at the security booth at the main gate of Eastwood U. A bucket of ice water poured over Cole's head. What? Why did she go back to campus? What about tonight? He quickly replied. Cole, Jasmine, I miss you. Can't you stay? Jasmine, miss my foot. I need a rest for a couple of days. If I don't leave now, you'll work me to death. Cole wailed internally. He pleaded again. Cole, Jasmine, please, just one more night. Jasmine, no. Be good. I need to recover properly. Aren't you moving into the new office soon? As the director of operations, I have to oversee that. It wouldn't look good if people noticed something was off. Cole, okay, Jasmine. Cole sighed in despair. That was so Jasmine. At work, titles must be used. Business always came first. The world was truly a dull place. At Eastwood Tech, Jasmine didn't go back to her dorm. Instead, she met up with Alex to go to the library. She hadn't hit the books in 2 days. They met on the plaza in front of the library. After a few sentences, Alex sensed something was off. She eyed Jasmine from head to toe, her gaze sharp and questioning. What? Jasmine asked, feeling a pang of guilt. There's something different about you. Alex Holmes stroked her chin. What could possibly be different about me? Come on, let's go. Jasmine nudged her chin toward the library, motioning for Alex to lead the way. You go, Alex said, tilting her head. To prove she had nothing to hide, Jasmine had no choice but to walk ahead, her whole body tense. She had recovered quickly and was mostly pain-free, but she still had the distinct feeling of, well, a pancake that had been filled. It made her incredibly self-conscious. Hey, 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 Jasmine Yang, stop right there. Alex suddenly yelled from behind her. Jasmine froze, turning back with a questioning look on her face. What is it? Let's go. Tell me the truth. Did Cole do something to you? Alex, who was quite pretty herself, wore a very sleazy grin. What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. Jasmine looked down, brushing non-existent dust from her jeans to hide her burning face. Still playing dumb with me? I've studied the sociology of youth for years. I can tell just by looking at you. Alex scoffed. Jasmine's facade crumbled instantly. Her face turned red. She decided to stop hiding it. It was bound to come out sooner or later. So tell me, how was he? Alex caught up, whispering excitedly. What are you even saying? Jasmine couldn't believe her. Basically, most guys are pretty quick. What about him? Alex was weirdly thrilled, as if she had some kind of voyeuristic obsession. We're not talking about this. Jasmine refused to answer. She shook her head. She couldn't think about it. Thinking about it just made her want it more. It wasn't just men who got a taste for it. Alex looked unsatisfied, but Jasmine was resolute, so she had no choice but to drop it. It took a week to get the new office ready. Wiring, workstations, decorations. Jasmine was there for the whole process, leading the operations, compliance, and customer service teams. Compliance and customer service were now under the operations umbrella, so they all pitched in to help with the move. Even Serena and Luna came to lend a hand. The 3,000 square foot space was huge. It could even accommodate the marketing department, so the promotions team would finally have desks to work at. All departments, except for development, moved to Suite 2501 at the gallery. Every department had its own designated area. There was even a spot reserved for Serena, the head of legal, though she wouldn't be there often. And as for the great CEO, Chun himself, he had a small desk in a corner, not even as spacious as Yvonne's. It was lonely, with only a slightly larger desk to symbolize his status. His dream of a large office with a private bedroom would have to wait. The only space walled off with glass was the conference room, which maximized every inch of the 3,000 square feet. There was even a reception desk, though they still needed to hire for the position. The two offices at the Venture Lab were now dedicated to the development team. Lynn ran around, moving small things. She was still quiet, but she seemed to be getting along with the editorial team. Jasmine was in charge of the official change of address for the company. In front of so many people, she was poised and professional, not once acting clingy with Cole. But her eyes would occasionally drift toward Serena, a flicker of confusion deep within them. Serena's demeanor was completely different from a few days ago. She seemed more womanly than before. Why was that? The 25th floor was a rectangle, with 6 elevators in the center and restrooms on both sides, all bright and clean. Cole had just come out of the men's room when he saw Luna walking over. The wicked laugh he'd been suppressing for days bubbled up inside him, clawing at his heart. He glanced down the hallway. Empty. He winked at Luna. Lou, come here. I need to tell you something, brother to sister. Luna, on the same wavelength, quickly looked around. Empty. When she turned back, her face was already flushed. The restroom stalls had toilets, and they were sturdy enough to hold the weight of 2 people. Lou, Cole whispered in her ear. Brother, I'm scared. Luna looked up at him timidly. Don't be. No one will see us here. MMM. Luna's voice was softer than a mosquito's buzz, almost inaudible. She bit her lower lip, her face crimson as she lifted her long-sleeved t-shirt. Luna kept one part of her mind on the sounds outside. She was nervous and exhilarated, her heart filled with a sweet bliss. She loved everything about being with Cole. Even though this made her incredibly shy, if he liked it, that was all that mattered. The sudden sound of footsteps startled them both, freezing them in place. Someone walked directly into the stall next to theirs. From the sound, it seemed to be a woman. Taking advantage of the noise, Luna straightened her clothes. She planted a light kiss on Cole's cheek, then opened the door and slipped out quietly. At the sinks outside, she splashed cold water on her burning cheeks to cool them down. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to face anyone back in the office. After a few deep breaths, the blush on her face finally subsided a little. She quickly walked back toward the office. Cole remained on the toilet, waiting to create a time gap. He didn't pay any mind to the person in the next stall. It was probably just an employee from another company on the floor. When he figured enough time had passed, he pushed the door open and walked out. Just as he did, the door to the next stall opened. Their eyes met. Cole. Serena's face lit up with a surprised smile. She thought he had gone downstairs. Huh, my prize piglet. Cole looked equally surprised, but his heart clenched. Damn, his timing was way off. Cole, I love it here. My desk is by the floor-to-ceiling window. I can see so far, Serena said, eagerly showing off her new workspace. I'm glad you like it, Cole said, then added softly, Director Young arranged it. His own desk was in the worst spot in the entire office, shoved against a corner wall like a failing student in the back row. He couldn't do anything about it. Jasmine had insisted, saying he was rarely at his desk anyway, so he didn't need a prime location. He was lucky she hadn't made him sit at the reception desk. Oh, Serena paused, a look of understanding in her eyes. She was both surprised and not surprised. Jasmine really was a generous person. Jasmine is so good to me. Of course. And this is just because the office is small now. In the future, when we have a whole floor, the legal department will have its own 3,000 square foot suite, Cole said with a confident smile. Yeah, let's do it. Serena smiled sweetly and pumped her little fist in the air. Let's head back, Cole said, listening for any sounds in the hallway. Seeing it was clear, he gently patted her head. No, I miss you. Serena whined like a child, swaying back and forth. Her eyes shone with a look of pure longing. Cole understood completely. So they went back into the stall. The door closed, and the latch clicked shut. Sigh. A shameless life is a full life. After half a day of organizing, the office was tidy, bright, and clean. Jasmine looked at the scene before her, then at Cole, who was pretending to work. A feeling of happiness and satisfaction filled her heart. Her little brother was rising, step by step. From the clueless boy he once was, he was slowly becoming a man capable of supporting an entire company. She had watched it all unfold. The sense of accomplishment from having nurtured him filled her soul. Jasmine's gaze swept across the room and landed on Luna, who was carefully wiping down a desk. As Luna worked, she kept glancing around, searching for something. Once she saw Cole, she stopped searching. Jasmine felt a pang of conflict. Thinking of Luna's difficult past, she couldn't bring herself to be cruel. It wouldn't be hard for her to crush someone's spirit. But if she did that, she might push this girl to the brink. Jasmine's eyes then shifted to Serena. The girl was wiping the leaves of a potted plant, but she too was watching Cole. When he looked over, she would flash a sweet smile. Jasmine felt conflicted about her, too. This girl also had it tough. Although her family was well off, her feelings for Cole were pure. If these two girls were different kinds of women, it would be simple. But they weren't. She was confident that if she forced her little brother to make a choice, he would obey her. But she just couldn't do it. She couldn't bear to destroy these two girls, and she was afraid of affecting her brother's state of mind. Everything was moving in a good direction, and his future was bright. The matter of women could be put aside for now. Once she had her checkup, if there were no issues, then it would be a different story. It wouldn't be too difficult to gently persuade them to back away. The office was undergoing its final checks. The development team was setting up computers and equipment, and an electrician was checking the wiring. Cole himself was placing fire extinguishers in several corners. He was particularly concerned about this. One reason was a genuine fear of fire. The other was man-made disaster. If a competitor reported them, the fire department would come for an inspection, and they'd be shut down for days with no one to appeal to. And so, a new tech company appeared on the 25th floor of the gallery, without much fanfare. The neighboring offices cast a few curious glances, checking out the scale of the operation and whether there were any pretty girls. There were. When the three goddesses weren't around, Yvonne was the most beautiful. Her desk was the most spacious, an L-shaped setup against the floor-to-ceiling window. She looked more like the boss than Cole did. It was clear how much Jasmine valued her. But she was also the busiest. The business division had just been split into marketing and promotions, and she had to sort everything out. Fiona and Whitney's desks were slightly smaller. They were a little jealous at first, but when they saw Cole sitting meekly in the back corner, they suddenly felt much better. The four finance desks were next to Cole's, separated by partitions, but also enjoying the light from the large windows. The space was small but bright. Next was Serena's desk. In contrast, the operations department was against the hallway wall, a much less desirable location. With the two offices at the Venture Lab freed up, Cole set up a lounge for the development team, complete with a sofa, a coffee maker with Blue Mountain and lattes, tea, and a projector for watching movies. The workspace was a bit tight, but the comfort level was excellent, making the other companies on the floor green with envy. They wanted a setup like that, but all they had was a water cooler and, at best, their own tea bags. Cole understood the development team's needs. Their work was mentally draining, and sitting for long hours could affect their mood, so their benefits had to be better. It was just small change, anyway. After a meeting with his department heads, Cole approved the purchase of a Honda minivan for about $15,000, with Luna from finance allocating the funds. It would have to do for now, mainly for the planning and business departments. Cole himself didn't care. He hadn't even gotten his driver's license yet. It was only at Jasmine's insistence that he finally signed up for lessons, paying extra for an exclusive one-on-one course. He wasn't buying a license, just accelerating the process by testing alone. He was already an experienced driver, but that made the practical driving test harder. He was too bold, not following the rules to the letter. Luckily, it was one-on-one, so the instructor was too embarrassed to yell at him. Otherwise, he would have been chewed out long ago. Within a week, after the driving school filed a special application with the DMV, he completed all his tests, from the written exam to the final road test. The school wouldn't have dared take him on if he wasn't already a skilled driver. April 2nd was a Saturday, but it was also a work day. The following day was the start of a 3-day long weekend for a local holiday. The practice of shifting work days to create a long weekend was a tradition, and Cole naturally followed suit. He and Luna were in the finance office, reviewing an account. Under Luna's careful management, they had gradually sold off over 50,000 bitcoins. The utility of the cryptocurrency was becoming apparent, and there were many behind-the-scenes buyers. With constant selling and buying, the price fluctuated wildly, from a high of $30 in March to $14 in April. Luna sold at market prices, sometimes for just a few dollars. After switching to the offshore account, withdrawals were incredibly fast. Nearly $800,000 sat in the account. In the Bitcoin market at the time, this was a drop in the ocean. Cole had to unload them. Greed had to be timed perfectly. Any profit was a win. He would keep a small amount as a memento. This thing was a token for a massive number of back-alley transactions. Its price surge was merely a reflection of demand from certain unstable regions, involving arms, special materials, organ trafficking, drugs, money laundering, and tax evasion. In his past life, a sudden policy change in 2017 had wiped out a horde of frenzied domestic and foreign investors. Cole was determined to be a legitimate, positive energy entrepreneur and stay far away from it all. Lou keeps selling on a 10 to 15-day cycle. Reduce the volume to around 1,000 at a time. Sell a total of 100,000 by the end of the year. That'll leave us with about 150,000, he instructed. I know, brother, Luna nodded obediently. After learning about it for a while, she understood Cole's intentions. She didn't question the rest. She just did as he said. The three girls all knew about this money. Cole had no intention of hiding it. Sometimes, what women valued most was the right to know. After handling that, he returned to his designated boss seat in the corner next door. Yvonne came over. Boss, the data from the blog promotions is in. Take a look. Cole took the report and examined it. The click-through rates for the posts varied from a few thousand to tens of thousands, even over 100,000. The conversion rate was decent. Recently, more non-student users had registered for Headline Today, their identities confirmed. The number of verified users was around 1.6 million, not including anonymous browsers. Cole was very satisfied with the results. These bloggers were enthusiasts in gaming, anime, electronics, photography, literature, and so on. Their reach was actually quite broad. Good. Let's do another wave. Have the planning department draw up a new promotional plan. Also, contact the companies that manage bus stop, bus, and taxi ads. We'll test it in Rockford first. If it's cost-effective, we'll replicate it in other cities. If not, we'll drop it. Boss, shouldn't we wait? The app is coming out soon. Wouldn't it be better to advertise the app directly? Yvonne suggested. That works too, Cole nodded. His original intention was just to make the initial contact and sign the contracts after the app was released. Since Yvonne had suggested it, he'd give her the satisfaction of having her advice taken. Boss, do you want to switch desks with me? Yvonne felt a little sorry for him. She also had to admire Jasmine, who could command this man with a single word. Even though it was a sign of her own importance, she couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. Switch my ass. Go sit at your desk. This is the headliner's seat. You wouldn't understand, Cole said, trying to save face. The conference room would make the best boss's office, but they didn't have the luxury right now. Fine. You keep headlining. I'm leaving. Yvonne gave him a cool turn of her back and walked away. She was now dressed in slim-fit trousers and high heels, looking every bit the professional. A faint perfume lingered in her wake, perfuming the air around Cole's desk. The development team worked overtime during the long weekend, and Cole stayed with them. A week later, the beta-tested Headline Today app was ready. All the necessary registrations and filings had been completed in advance, but it still had to go through the review process for various app stores. The Apple App Store required a developer account and a fee, which allowed them to manage the app settings on the back end. The review took about 24 hours. Other domestic app stores were similar. Cole decided to invest some money in optimizing their ranking on the App Store homepages. It was a few $1,000s per store, Not a huge amount, but with several stores, it added up to tens of thousands. He assigned this task to Yvonne's marketing department. The bus and taxi ads were also launched. The streets of Rockford were suddenly filled with ads for Headline Today. Headline Today app. Everything you want to see. Find your soulmate on the Headline Today app. For all the nation's news, check out Headline Today. A variety of slogans cycled on the ad displays atop taxis. Most people who saw these ads wouldn't necessarily download the app immediately. But one day, when they were looking for such an app, the memory of an ad they'd seen might flash in their minds. That day, Cole went nowhere. He sat at his desk, waiting to see the download data. Everyone at Headline Today was doing their work, but their minds were on the download numbers. The 4 core members of the development team, Wyatt and his crew, were waiting anxiously in their office at the Venture Lab. Cole had once told them that the mobile end was the future, and their hopes were high. The back-end data grew slowly. Cole sat there until midnight. The core employees of Headline Today were also waiting. When the day's download numbers were posted in the core group chat, a chill went through everyone. Fewer than 60,000. It was a far cry from the hundreds of thousands or even millions they had imagined. After all, they were on all the major app platforms, available to all smartphone users. The number was a huge blow. Everyone remained silent, assuming the boss was in a terrible mood. They just hoped he could handle it. Even if the app failed, they still had the website, right? They could still survive and do pretty well. In her dorm room, staying up late for the first time in a while, Jasmine stared at her brother's profile picture on Facebook Messenger, her eyes filled with worry. She was afraid the result would affect his morale. She wanted to send a message of comfort, but after some thought, she held back. Serena and Luna were also awake. They knew how much hope Cole had pinned on this, and now, with the first day's data being a complete disaster, they were naturally worried about him too. But they both silently held back, not wanting to disturb him. At 12:15 a.m., in the vast, empty office, Cole sat alone. His eyes were deep and calm. Inside, however, a fierce battle had just been fought before he managed to quiet his mind. This was normal. Smartphones were becoming common, but not completely ubiquitous. It wasn't like the future. Even if the App Store description detailed Headline Today's features, users wouldn't feel a strong pull. It would take time to ferment. As long as new users experienced what made Headline Today unique, it would surely spread like wildfire. Of course, it could also be crushed by the rapidly expanding internet. Cole looked at the silent core management group chat. He could guess what everyone was thinking. No matter how disappointing the result, he had to be full of confidence. After composing himself, he sent a message to the group. Haha, this result exceeded my expectations. I thought we'd only get a few thousand faced with tears of joy. Remember, there aren't that many smartphone users yet, and we're just a new kid on the block. I have full confidence in the future of the Headline Today app. If it doesn't take off at the annual party this year, I'll wash my hair while doing a handstand for you all faced with tears of joy. Wyatt immediately followed up. I also have full confidence in the app. Today's numbers already exceeded my expectations. Boss, you should change the bet. If it does get popular, you have to perform for us. Yvonne, yeah, boss. You can't back out of that. Fiona, boss, we'll be waiting for your victory performance. At Cole Chun Jasmine, these numbers are already very good. We're still new at this. Serena, exactly. We're aiming for a steady victory. Luna, we need to be patient and take each step carefully. The rest of the development team, the business department heads, and the planning team leaders all chimed in. They sounded full of confidence, but they were all trying to console Cole. Sitting alone in the office, Cole felt a surge of warmth. He sent another message. Let's wait and see. Flex biceps a long chain of let's do it. Messages filled the chat. Cole told the 3 girls he was going to sleep, then turned off the lights and sat quietly, facing the floor-to-ceiling windows. He knew the right direction, but he couldn't control the market. All he could do was give it his all and grab a piece of the territory before similar apps appeared. He didn't return to the Golden Bay apartment until 2 in the morning, not going back to his dorm. The next morning, he appeared at the office looking refreshed, his smile bright and confident. When the second day's data came out, everyone fell silent again. The numbers hadn't risen. They had dropped. Fewer than 30,000 downloads. This time, everyone's morale took a serious hit. Cole understood his employees' psychology perfectly. It was their first time doing this, and they were already uncertain. Seeing these numbers, how could they not panic? All he could do was maintain an everything is under control facade, smiling and laughing all day. The employees relaxed a little. Third day, just over 10,000 downloads. Fourth day, less than 30,000. Fifth day, just over 20,000. Sixth day, only a few thousand. The data rose and fell, fluctuating back and forth. But the number of active users on the app was significant, mostly old users from the PC version, accounting for about 30%. This was because many students hadn't bought smartphones. Some students worked part-time to buy a laptop or desktop, with a little help from their families, which was already considered a big deal. As long as their phones could make calls and use Facebook Messenger, it was good enough. So, daily active users on the website remained high. Only the app's download growth was as slow as a snail. In Office 1521 at the Venture Lab, Cole held a closed-door meeting with the 4 core members of the development team. From now on, you don't need to worry about the growth data. You can assign 2 or 3 people to maintain the PC version. The 4 of you will focus on the app. My requirements are: 1. Continuously optimize the front-end user experience. 2. Stabilize the back-end data processing. 3. Establish an intelligent recommendation algorithm research lab. That's the AI you guys talk about. You know more about it than I do. This Office 1521 will be dedicated to the lab. Wyatt, you'll be in charge of it. Then you guys decide who will lead the lab's projects. This is our top priority. The app's success is not your concern. That's my job. I want the algorithm further optimized. I'll provide the money. You give me the results. Every result means a bonus. Whether you can get equity in headline today depends on your performance. The 4 team members straightened up. The app's download numbers had really dampened their spirits. They had even considered focusing solely on the PC version, which they could do well. But now, with Cole mentioning AI and company equity, their sleepiness vanished. They were researchers at heart. They could continue down the path of intelligent recommendation algorithms and have a chance to get company equity. That was a secure meal ticket for life. As long as Headline Today made money, they wouldn't be short of it. Moreover, the boss's meaning was clear. The app's success or failure was not their responsibility. This relieved a lot of psychological pressure, though they still felt they were letting him down. Okay, boss, I understand. Leave the research lab to us, Wyatt said with a solemn nod. Good. This is very important. Please, you have to trust me. An intelligent algorithm plus the mobile platform is our future. We will only move in this direction. Cole pumped his fist. Roger that, boss. The 4 of them replied in unison. In the days that followed, the app's download numbers showed no signs of improvement. Though no one at Headline Today talked about it, they had privately lost hope in the app. Cole saw it, but he didn't explain. His predicament was that he was a bit ahead of his time. With limited bandwidth and smartphone penetration, this slump was inevitable. The app didn't even attract the attention of venture capitalists. It was like it was invisible. The website's activity, however, did pique the interest of some investors. In the past few days, Cole had received several calls from people wanting to invest in the PC version of Headline Today. The valuation was $5 million. Cole put the phone aside, let the person talk, and then said, "Goodbye, thank you." He called Yvonne over. "Yvonne, in all the cities where we have branch offices, roll out the app ads." "Boss, the investment will be huge. Will it affect the company's operations?" Yvonne was worried. Cole seemed to have a deep obsession with the app. "Just do it." Hearing the non-negotiable tone in Cole's voice, Yvonne stopped asking. "Okay." Cole called his lawyer, Mr. Zhao. "Mr. Zhao, hello. I need to bring the funds from my offshore account back here. Can you help me find a financial services company?" "Of course. This is what I do most often. If it's just a few thousand or tens of thousands of dollars, you could just transfer it in batches to relatives' accounts. No need for all this trouble, Mr. Zhao said. "It's 800,000. I need to bring it all back. I don't want it to be classified as an investment." 800,000? US dollars? Yes. There was a moment of silence on the other end. "Okay, no problem. But there will be service fees and exchange rate differences. The channel is absolutely secure." "I understand. When it's done, there's an extra bonus in it for you," Cole said with a smile. Great. Leave it to me." Time passed. The Headline Today website operated smoothly. Everyone subconsciously ignored the app. With only a few thousand or 10,000 downloads a day, when would it ever take off? But the necessary maintenance continued. And under Cole's direction, the ads kept rolling out, especially the optimized rankings in the app stores. The marketing department sent out several teams to major cities to secure taxi ads. Money was being spent like water. Luna, who managed the finances, watched with a worried heart. In everyone's eyes, the once steady boss now looked like a gambler, ready to pour everything he had into the app. It was insane. Yvonne tried to advise him several times, until Cole gave her a stern look. Even Jasmine was starting to worry, but her attempts to persuade him were useless. The entire company knew. The boss was determined to sink all his money into the app. They even guessed he had gotten extra funds from somewhere. They just couldn't understand why he was doing it. Couldn't he just focus on the PC version? From April to May, the girls traded their long sleeves for skirts that showed off their pale legs. Cole's smile never wavered. He was calm, and everything seemed normal on the surface. But he had even set aside his beloved trysts. Apart from monitoring the progress of the intelligent recommendation algorithm, his entire world was the app. The risk of being ahead of his time was that he might die on the vine. But it was also his only chance to compete with the capital that would flood the market in 2012. Unless he also brought in venture capital and threw in tens of millions, he couldn't instantly blanket the country and create momentum. Cole was unwilling to do that. He had to hold on until he saw the dawn. Since the app was launched, he couldn't stop. Otherwise, it would sink, and everything he had done so far would be for nothing. Often, late at night, Cole would sit alone in the office, his eyes bloodshot, while he told the 3 girls he was in his dorm. Through the floor-to-ceiling window, Cole quietly watched the city of Rockford at night. His eyes were red, but his heart was full of hope. The download numbers for the Headline Today app were indeed low, but the smartphone penetration rate in the market was soaring. He had been keeping a close eye on the sales of various smartphone brands. This was the foundation on which the app's survival depended. But he was running out of money. Should he take out a loan? In just 1 month, he had spent over $600,000. The $800,000 from the Bitcoin sale was almost gone. He had tried everything except for television ads. In major cities like New York, he had even placed ads in office building elevators. Cole's expectations weren't that high. If he could get 5 million downloads this year, he would be satisfied. As long as the intelligent algorithm and user experience kept up, Headline Today could establish a firm foothold. Hold on. Even if it means taking out a loan, I have to hold on. Cole made his decision. The next day, he slept in until 10 before coming to the company, looking refreshed and energetic again. Just as he sat down in his headliner's seat, an unexpected person walked up to him. Lynn Fan, ripped jeans, a white t-shirt, and 2 exaggeratedly large earrings. A small, dark tattoo was visible on her forearm. Do you need money? My mom asked me to ask you. If you do, you can go to her. Lynn's expression was blank, as if she were completing a task. She didn't like this handsome, brooding boy in front of her, because too many women liked him. She had already noticed at least 3 or 4 in the company alone. The way their eyes followed him. It was practically tangible. She had even recognized the voice from Cole's phone the other day as the rarely seen head of legal. It was pretty much confirmed. He was a total player, not a good person. Lynn, please tell Ms. Fan for me that I don't need it for now, and thank her for her kindness. Cole smiled. Okay. Lynn turned to leave, then stopped after a few steps and looked back. Can you not call her Ms. Fan? It feels weird. I can't. Cole replied with a gentle smile, refusing her. Was she kidding? Should he call her Annie Fan? That was just asking for trouble. Lynn didn't say anything else and walked away. Cole watched her go, raising an eyebrow. It wasn't strange that Vanessa had this idea. It at least showed she was optimistic about the website, though not necessarily the app. Afterward, Cole began preparing the documents for a loan application. At Eastwood Tech, Jasmine, dressed in a white sundress, stood under a tree and called home. Hello, Dad. I need you to wire me some money. I want to make an investment. How much? The more, the better. All right, got it. After hanging up, Jasmine walked over to where Alex was waiting. Are you investing in Headline Today? Alex asked curiously. No. Jasmine shook her head. Investing in her brother was different from investing in Headline Today. Your brother has been expanding so aggressively lately. Isn't it too risky? It's fine, it's normal. Jasmine didn't really know, but she understood one thing. She could never have built Headline Today herself. She changed the subject. The operations department needs to hire another person, mainly to handle the tea alchemist. Are you interested? Huh. Alex's eyes lit up. She moved closer to Jasmine. What's the salary? That's confidential. I'll tell you when you sign the contract. Jasmine smiled. Alex was very professional, had good social skills, and some part-time experience. It was better to hire someone she knew than a stranger. Will I be under you? Alex asked. You want to be above me? Jasmine scoffed. I'm just asking. I bet your brother is under you, though, right? Alex gave her a mischievous grin. Just say if you want the job or not. Stop with the dirty jokes. Jasmine looked annoyed, but the tips of her ears were a little red. Sometimes, he was indeed under her. Is that even a question? I'd be an idiot to go suffer somewhere else. Alex agreed without hesitation. Then she quickly added, but you can't just have me managing the tea shop forever. It'll be so embarrassing when people ask what I do. Ms. Jasmine Yang is the CEO of the Headline Today group, and Ms. Alex Tang is the operations manager of a bubble tea chain. Then you'll have to work hard. I wouldn't mind giving you the CEO title, but it doesn't sound good for a CEO to only have a bachelor's degree, Jasmine said, glancing at her best friend with a faint smile. In the future, she would have to have Cole's babies. Someone would have to take her place. Alex didn't doubt Headline Today's potential just because the app was struggling, which made Jasmine feel very pleased. Don't you worry. I'll work and study at the same time. I'll get an MBA even if it makes my hair fall out, Alex declared proudly. Meanwhile, at the Eastwood University Law School, Serena found a quiet spot in a stairwell and called her cousin, Spencer Chun. Hello, Spencer, my favorite cousin. Can you lend me $1 million? I'll pay you back by New Year's. What? What do you need it for? Don't get scammed. Are you lending it to me or not? I'll pay you back by New Year's, I promise. Does my aunt know? Fine, forget it. Serena hung up without another word. A hint of frustration crossed her face, and she immediately regretted hanging up so quickly. She should have been nicer. But an inexplicable impatience was bubbling up inside her. After a moment's thought, she called her grandfather. Grandpa, she chirped sweetly. Oh, my sweet granddaughter. What made you think of calling your grandpa today? I miss you, Grandpa. Good, good. Grandpa misses you too. You should come stay with me for a while this summer. Okay, Grandpa. Grandpa, I want to ask you for a favor. Anything. Grandpa will definitely help you. Can you lend me $1 million? I'll pay you back by New Year's. What's this about lending? Grandpa will give you $1 million as spending money. I'll have your uncle transfer it to you in a bit. Thank you, Grandpa. After hanging up, Serena let out a sigh of relief. It wasn't that her family was short on money, but they didn't have large amounts of cash readily available. Just a minute or two later, her uncle called. Hello? Uncle. Serena, send me your account number. I'll transfer it to you now. Okay, Uncle. Thank you, Uncle. Serena, there's something I need to tell you. Go ahead, Uncle. The grandson of Chairman Zhang from the Sainer Heavy Industry Group in the state capital is also in Rockford. Chairman Zhang mentioned it last time we chatted. You're both the same age. You could get to know each other. I think it's a good idea. Uncle, I just remembered I don't need the money anymore. Thank you, Uncle. Serena, this is actually a good thing. Uncle, I have something urgent to do. Let's talk next time. Serena hung up. Her expression turned cold, her brow furrowed. She decided to call her cousin back and say something nice. Just as she was thinking this, a call from Spencer came in. Hey, Serena, I'll give you $500,000 for now. Let me know when you need more. Don't be so hasty. Did you think I wouldn't give it to you? Thank you, Spencer. You sigh. It'll be in your account in a bit. Serena's mood eased slightly. She had realized it wouldn't be that easy to borrow the money. Not that she couldn't get it, but it would come with strings attached. She had thought her grandfather would just transfer it, but then this new complication arose. Some things were, after all, more complicated than she had thought. But she had to borrow it. Her Cole needed support. A call from her mother came, just as she had expected, only sooner than she thought. Serena, your uncle said you're short on money. What's going on? What have I told you before? Don't take money that isn't yours. If you want to go far in life, you have to be strict with yourself. Mom, I saw a project I want to try investing in. It won't lose money, Serena replied, just as she had planned. There was no other explanation she could give. What are you doing getting into investing while you're still in school? Your future isn't in finance. Is it for that classmate of yours, Cole Chun? His startup is his business. It's not appropriate for you to get involved. I feel like your thinking has deviated significantly. If this continues, it will ruin you. The money is out of the question. Next year, you're transferring to a university in Boston. Don't blame me, Serena. I'm doing this for your own good. Helen's tone was steady but firm. Mom, I have to go, Serena said, her face pale, her brow furrowed into a deep line. Her body was trembling slightly. I'm not finished talking. You. Serena hung up. It was the first time she had ever hung up on her mother before she was finished speaking. A deep, unstoppable frustration churned inside her, and a headache began to throb in her temples. Her chest felt tight, and she felt nauseous. She clutched her forehead and squatted on the ground, a sudden wave of overwhelming sadness washing over her. Her downcast eyes revealed a suppressed pain. The phone rang again. She glanced at it. It was her father. After a moment's hesitation, she didn't answer. Another message popped up. It was from Spencer, and he just called and asked about this. I'm afraid she'll get angry and tell your uncle. You should try to convince her first. Say something nice. Serena didn't reply. She remained squatting on the ground, hugging her head in silence. Girls passing by in the stairwell cast curious glances her way. Isn't that the campus beauty? What's wrong with her? But it was just a fleeting moment of surprise. They had their own lives and their own worries. They didn't have the energy to focus on others. The sunlight that had been streaming into the hallway disappeared behind the clouds. The wind that blew in carried a hint of oppressive heat, making one feel irritable. It looked like the clear sky was about to turn to rain. The weather in Rockford was just like a person's mood. That same hot, humid wind probably blew across the business school campus as well. Luna was wearing a loose white cotton t-shirt, the kind that wasn't see-through, with a bandeau underneath. Over that, she wore a women's button-down shirt. Only this combination could completely hide her chest. Even if it was a bit hot and didn't look great, it was better than attracting the uncomfortable gazes she despised. Class had just ended. A local Rockford number that had called her several times before was calling again. She found it strange. She didn't know anyone here. Who could have her number? If it was someone from Headline Today, they could just message her in the group chat. The phone kept vibrating. After a moment's hesitation, she answered. Hello. Hey, it's me, sis. Ji Xiang. The thick, regional accent that came through the phone sent a shockwave through Luna. He was saying, Sis, it's me, your brother, Ji Xiang. Her brother, Ji Xiang. Luna stood frozen for a long time. It had been 10 years since she'd heard that name. All she had left of Ji Xiang's face was a vague impression. She couldn't recognize his voice at all. The day she came home from school to find her mother and brother gone. A few days later, she was forced to accept that her mother had left without a word, taking her brother with her. The voice on the phone was still calling her name, but she seemed not to hear it. It took a long moment for her to react. Hello, I think you have a wrong number. I don't. Your middle school homeroom teacher gave me the number. You definitely have the wrong number. Luna hung up immediately. Her lips were trembling. If her teacher had given him the number, then it couldn't be wrong. She walked forward a few steps in a daze, saw a flower bed, and sat down. Memories of her childhood flooded her mind, but she could recall very little. She couldn't even remember her mother's face. The phone vibrated again. Was it the same number? Luna hadn't even stopped to wonder why it was a Rockford number. After a moment of hesitation, she answered. Hello. Hey, sis. Mom's here too. And so is our uncle. We're right at the main gate of Eastwood University. Can you come out? We can't get in. Ji Xiang's voice on the other end sounded excited. Then, a slightly older woman's voice, tinged with tears, came through the phone. Luna, Mom's here to see you. Can you come out? Nothing else. I just want to see you. Luna was bewildered. She didn't remember her mother's voice. Her only impression was that it was young, clear, and melodious, nothing like the voice on the phone. When she thought of her mother, she mostly pictured her father's face. It was clear, tall, thin, handsome, and deeply tanned. Always smiling just like Cole. Luna. The woman's voice on the phone pulled Luna from her memories. She said flatly, fine. Wait there. I'll be out in a bit. She should go see them. They were already at the gate. They were, after all, related by blood. The initial shock and sadness had inexplicably vanished. The feeling in her heart was like that of a long-lost relative coming to visit. She slowly walked toward the main gate. It took her a full 20 minutes to finally exit the school. She scanned the area, but didn't see anyone she recognized. Just as she was looking around, confused, the back door of a BMW parked on the side of the road opened, and a tall, thin young man got out. He was wearing a crisp dress shirt and slacks. He waved excitedly. Sis, a complete stranger. Luna couldn't find any trace of her brother in him. The front doors of the BMW also opened. Luna recognized the man who got out of the passenger seat. Her uncle. The woman who got out of the driver's seat made her heart tremble again. Her face still held a faint outline of her mother's features, but she looked much older and wealthy. Her clothes were no longer the simple garments of the past. She was dressed like a rich matron. This woman walked toward Luna, starting to cry softly and call her name from 10 yards away. Her uncle, still dressed like a farmer, followed behind, a look of astonishment on his face, as if he were seeing his niece for the first time. The young man who quickly walked up to her had a joyful smile. It really is you, sis. He looked a bit like his mother. Luna, who resembled her father more, first called out to her uncle as a sign of respect. After all, she had lived at his house for a month and had eaten his food. Her gaze then fell on the young man's face. You're Ji Xiang? Sis, I'm still Ji Xiang, but my last name isn't anymore. It's Lei now. Lei Ji Xiang was still smiling, not at all embarrassed by the name change. He kept looking his sister up and down. Her teacher had said she was not doing well, but she looked to be in good health. He figured it was because of the university. Life at a top school must be good. Oh, Luna replied flatly. This brother was a stranger. The small, thin boy from her childhood was becoming even fuzzier in her memory. If her uncle weren't here, she would have thought it was a case of mistaken identity. Luna, her supposed mother, was overcome with emotion, wiping away tears, wanting to take Luna's hand. Luna took a step back, avoiding her touch. Luna. The wealthy woman's face showed a flash of embarrassment, her tear-filled eyes now holding a hint of surprise. Her daughter had grown up to be truly beautiful. Her memory of her daughter was of a girl with two thick braids and messy bangs. But the girl before her now had fair, rosy skin and delicate features. Her clothes were simple but elegant, the fabric of good quality. She was a world apart from the girl she remembered. Sensing the awkward atmosphere, her uncle stepped forward to mediate. "Lou, your mother came all this way to see you. Why don't we find a place to sit and talk?" "Yes, that's right, Luna. Let's go to my hotel, okay?" her mother asked eagerly. "Yes, sis, let's sit down and talk. We drove here. We can give you a ride back," her brother added. Luna glanced at the three of them. It felt strange, a family reunion, and yet, apart from the initial tremor when she answered the phone, she felt not a single shred of sadness. Not one drop. She pointed to a circular flower bed to their left. "Let's just sit there and talk for a bit. I have a class later." The mother and son were taken aback. She seemed a little cold. Reluctantly, they agreed. The four of them sat on the edge of the flower bed and began to catch up. Neither side had expected the reunion to be so awkward. The tearful embrace the mother and son had envisioned never materialized. The lavishly dressed mother spoke, wiping away tears, while Lei Jixiang added details, and their uncle tried to smooth things over. Only Luna remained quiet, occasionally responding with a simple, "Oh, or is that so?" She learned that her mother had remarried a businessman with the last name Lei, who had since passed away from illness. She had another daughter with him, who hadn't come this time. Her mother now ran the Lei family's home care business and owned several properties in the capital of their home state. Lei Jixiang had dropped out of community college and was currently unemployed. "Luna, what about you? Are you doing okay?" her mother asked, turning to her after listing her assets. "I'm doing fine," Luna said with a small smile. "Sorry, back then I had no choice. We had no money. I had to leave. To share the burden, I took your brother with me." Her mother sighed deeply, her eyes filled with pain as she continued, her voice choked with emotion. "Now I have money. I want to bring you home, to make up for all the years I've neglected you. I begged your homeroom teacher for a long time before she gave me your number." "Yes, sis. Our family isn't short on money now. See that BMW? We just got it at the beginning of the year. You can have anything you want. Come live a life of luxury with us. We'll be a family again, just like before," Lei Jixiang said, his smile full of a certain expectation. Luna listened while replying to a few messages in the Headline Today group chat. "Luna, what do you think? From now on, you'll be with your mom and Jixiang," her mother said, prompting her when she didn't respond. "Lu, your mother had it tough. In the end, it was all for you and Jixiang. Now that things are so good, it's all for you and Jixiang," her uncle added, chiming in. Luna gave her uncle a strange look. "You cursed her out so badly back then. Why the complete change of tune now?" "Sis, Mom is planning to open a branch office in Rockford. She's also going to buy a house here. You can live at home with us. I'll introduce you to some friends, help you expand your network." Lei Jixiang stopped when his sister held up a hand. Luna's usual gentle, independent demeanor around Cole was gone. Her face was calm and resolute. Her gaze swept over the mother and son, then to her uncle. Only then did she speak, her voice even. "I appreciate your good intentions, but there's no need to mention the rest. Seeing you again has brought closure to our past. I won't forget the debt of birth and upbringing. When you're old and need me to pay for your support, I'll pay every cent. We won't discuss anything else." Her words stunned the mother and son. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. The emotional reunion they had imagined had vanished. Her uncle quickly interjected. "Lou, what's the need for this? Your mother had no choice back then. She didn't mean to abandon you." "Uncle, this has nothing to do with you. Why are you getting involved? You cursed her for days on end, from one end of the village to the other. I still remember it clearly." Luna's words made her uncle's face flush with shame. He turned his head away and fell silent. Her mother also looked embarrassed. It was true, she couldn't stand the poverty and pressure at the time. Plus, she was somewhat attractive, so she ran away. But what choice did she have? She couldn't live like that, and raising two children was too hard. Her son would always stay by her side, but her daughter would eventually marry out. So, her condition for marrying the man was that he had to accept her son. "Luna, I had no choice. I don't blame you. You had your choice, and I have mine. Everyone has to endure hardship in life. Maybe I just had to endure mine earlier." Facing her biological mother and brother, Luna grew calmer and calmer. "How can you say that? Aren't we back to find you? We came specifically to compensate you," Lei Jixiang said, his face showing displeasure. "Luna, don't be stubborn. I really did you wrong, but it's not too late to make it up to you. You still need a family, right?" Her mother thought Luna was just holding a grudge. It was normal for a young person to hold a grudge. She just needed a way to back down. I already have a family. I'm doing very well. An image of Cole's face floated in Luna's mind. You have a family? What do you mean? Her mother instinctively clutched her designer bag. It means I have a family, Luna said, a faint smile on her lips. As a woman who had been through it all, her mother immediately understood the implication. Her face darkened. Sis, do you have a boyfriend? Or are you? Lei Jixiang was clearly trying to gauge the extent of the relationship. This made Luna suspicious. What difference did it make? Without a second thought, she said firmly, I'm married. I have a husband. I'm going to have his children as soon as I graduate. At these words, the three of them exchanged shocked glances. Her mother's face was grim as she spoke. This is no joking matter. You're from our village. There are rules for marriage. So you do know I'm from our village. Then you should understand that my word is the rule. Besides, you have no right to talk to me about it. Luna shot to her feet. She looked coldly at her uncle. Uncle, you see my knife. You tell me, is a girl from our village joking when she picks up her knife? Her uncle's face turned red, then pale. He knew his niece carried a knife with her every day, and she wasn't afraid to use it. Sis, you. Lei Jixiang hadn't expected his quiet-looking sister to suddenly become so fierce. Luna's calm gaze turned to him. My brother's name isn't Jixiang. He is not you, and you are not him. My brother has the same last name as my father and me. Then she turned to her former mother. You are my birth mother. That is a fact, but that's all it is. From the day you left without a word, you are no longer my mother. Our relationship is one of biology only, and I can pretty much guess what you're planning. Don't even think about it. Don't waste your time. Luna's attention was caught by a taxi pulling over on the side of the road. Seeing the person getting out, the frost on her face melted away, replaced by a gentle smile. Let me make it perfectly clear to you one more time. I have a husband, and I'm going to have his children. Absolutely not. The wealthy woman stood up, her face dark and sullen. I'm not dead yet. It's not your place to make your own decisions. What you say doesn't count. Her uncle quickly chimed in. Hey now, Lou, you know as well as anyone, there are rules for girls from our village when they get married. It's our tradition. Don't think that just because you went to college, you can throw tradition away. So you know you're not dead? Luna's lips curled into a sneer. Then do you know what kind of act it is to abandon your child and disappear without a word? Do you know you took my father's compensation money? Do you know you didn't leave me a single penny? Do you have any idea how I've survived all these years? Even if you're going to fly off to a better life, you could have at least left a note. As a mother, abandoning your child and disappearing, and now you have the nerve to tell me you're not dead yet? Do you have any shame? Are you even worthy? It was the first time such a mocking expression had appeared on Luna's face. The first time her words had been so sharp, tearing away their flimsy excuses. She glared coldly at her uncle. The government aid money was split between you and second uncle. Did a single cent ever reach my hands? I lived in your house for a month. You know very well what I ate. And eating was one thing, but you shouldn't have had the idea of trading me for something. Do you have the nerve to talk to me about this? I got into Eastwood University. Did the congratulatory funds from the government ever reach my hands? I wrote you an IOU for my tuition and living expenses, which I've already paid back. My father's old house and land now belong to you. Is this the tradition and rules you're talking about? Do you think that because I'm a lone girl, I'm easy to fool and bully? I have never met people as shameless as you. Just go. Don't force me to get serious. An unprecedented sharpness flashed in Luna's eyes. The experiences of the past replayed in her mind, but the heartache and fear no longer made her tremble. The wealthy woman's gaze shifted, unable to meet her daughter's eyes, the guilt in her heart lasting only for a moment. Her uncle's face was dark, his eyes darting to the side, a guilty but defiant look on his face. Lei Jixiang's expression was complicated. He couldn't find any words. Having lived a life of wealth since his mother remarried, it was difficult for him to empathize. When his own father was still alive, their family had been comfortable, at least not lacking for food or clothing. At that awkward moment, a clear voice came from nearby. Lou, what's going on? The three of them looked over to see a tall, handsome young man walk up to Luna's side, his face full of concern. It's nothing, brother. They're from my hometown. I was just talking to them. Seeing Cole, Luna wanted to throw herself into his arms and pour out all her grievances, but with outsiders present, she held back. Okay, let's go. I'll walk you back to your dorm. Cole had been on his way to the venture lab. From the taxi, he had noticed something was wrong here. His little girl almost never wore such a cold expression. He guessed there were people she knew, but he didn't plan to ask. She would tell him if she wanted to. Okay. Luna's face broke into a smile. She held back the tears in her eyes and took the hand Cole held out to her. It was warm and strong, steadily driving away the chill in her heart. Luna, this is... The wealthy woman sized up Cole, her expression unreadable. Guessing this was her daughter's husband, she instinctively wanted to scold him, but immediately reined in the impulse. The boy's eyes were deep and calm. The moment their gazes met, she got the feeling that if she dared to make a scene, he would make sure she couldn't back down gracefully. His clothes weren't cheap, either. After years of running a business, the woman had her own way of reading people. What if he was some well-connected rich kid? Plus, this was Eastwood University. She wisely chose not to explode. Lei Jixiang's gaze, however, was hostile. He glared at the handsome young man. After his mother tugged on his arm, he reluctantly called out, "Sis, you can't marry an outsider. Our family has money now. You'll definitely get a share. Don't you want it? Don't call me sis." Luna looked at her former brother, her eyes completely calm. "That's your family. It has nothing to do with me. And I don't need it." She was utterly disappointed in this mother and son. They hadn't come for a reunion. They had come looking for a tool. They were already intoxicated by their own wealthy lives. Luna had managed to get into Eastwood University. Her intelligence and emotional quotient were naturally high. No one understood human nature better than she did. Some things didn't need to be said aloud to understand the intent. Her uncle had undoubtedly been paid off to act as a go-between. Her homeroom teacher probably thought a reunion would be a good thing and gave them the number. Luna saw it all with perfect clarity. Only by handling it calmly could she feel better. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to face the despair she felt deep down about her own family. Cole squeezed Luna's hand and led her toward the campus gate. She hadn't introduced them, so there must have been a reason. "Luna, sis," the mother and son called out, unwilling to give up. But this wasn't their small town. There was nothing else they could do. They could only watch as the beautiful couple walked into the university. "Mom, let's go back for now." The mother and son walked toward the BMW, with their uncle weakly trailing behind. On the tree-lined path leading to the business school, Cole sensed that Luna was hesitating, wanting to say something. He asked gently, "Do you want to tell me about it? It'll just put you in a bad mood." Meeting Cole's gentle gaze, Luna's carefully constructed strength crumbled. Only by Cole's side did her soul feel free. But she worried about making him sad, too. "It would make me even sadder to see my little sweetheart suffer alone." Cole's eyes were filled with affection. The sweetness of that sentence should be enough to get her to open up. It worked now on this specific person. In a few years, a poor guy would have to follow up with a gift, preferably cash or something else. Otherwise, he'd likely get a response like, "Talk is cheap." That attitude existed now. It just wasn't as widespread. A glimmer of light appeared in Luna's eyes, and her lower lip began to tremble. Cole led her off the main path to a more secluded spot. His little girl was about to cry. They came to a small grove of trees by the side of the road. The trees weren't dense, and people walking by on either side could still see them. It wasn't suitable for any R-rated activities, but it was perfect for releasing emotions. Cole wrapped his arm around Luna's soft, slender waist, pulling her into his embrace. He whispered, "It's okay. Tell your brother all about it." The moment she entered his safe harbor, Luna couldn't hold it in any longer. Her mouth trembled, and she buried her face in his chest, crying softly. How could she not be sad? She had just been forcibly suppressing it. Cole gently stroked the back of her head, letting her cry it all out. There were other couples embracing nearby, so they didn't look out of place. Luna cried for a long time. The stroking on the back of her head was incredibly comforting, and her emotions gradually calmed. Cuddled in Cole's embrace, she recounted what had happened. She didn't mention her suspicions about their true motives. That was a darkness she would keep to herself. She didn't say it, but Cole guessed. If it were a genuine reunion, it wouldn't have been so complicated. They could have secretly visited her years ago. Would her stepfather have stopped them? Unlikely. They were probably too busy enjoying their wealthy life, maintaining their image, and didn't want people to know they had abandoned a child. A mother who could abandon her child without a word. What hope was there for any real affection from her? Cole pulled the small girl into a tight, all-encompassing hug. "It's over now. You have me. Wherever I am, that's your home, okay?" He could only offer comfort. That was, after all, Luna's mother and brother. Only she had the right to curse them. If Cole were to do it, it would only make her feel more awkward. "Okay," Luna whispered, wrapping her arms around his waist so tightly it felt like she was trying to merge with him. She had once hoped that getting into a top university would change her destiny, but she never imagined that fate would grace her with another choice entirely. A diploma couldn't fill the void in her heart, but Cole could. The temperature was already high, and the prolonged embrace made them both feel even hotter. Sensing a change in the atmosphere between them, Luna didn't dare hold on any longer. She rested her forehead against his chest, creating a small space between them. Her face was as red as an apple, the sting of her family's cruelty momentarily forgotten. Cole, shameless as ever, wasn't the least bit embarrassed. The urgency of his body's reaction was impossible to ignore. A perfectly normal response. He let out a goofy chuckle and took her hand, leading her through the woods. Walking out on the main path right now would reveal his inconvenient situation. They chatted as he walked her to her classroom building before he headed over to the venture lab. He needed to check in with Wyatt. The new R&D lab was officially up and running, led by Marcus from the core programming team, who had a deep understanding of intelligent algorithms. Wyatt himself had to oversee all program development, his focus too divided to lead the lab himself, though he was the most qualified. They had also recruited 3 graduate students from the AI program to join the new team. After making his rounds, Cole's phone buzzed. It was a Facebook message from Jasmine. Jasmine Young, just got to the bank. I wired you $150,000. It should arrive within 2 hours. Use it to hold things over for now. If it's not enough, I'll figure something else out. A jolt went through Cole. A wave of warmth spread from his chest. Jasmine spoiled him rotten. $150,000. That was more than a year's profit for her father's business. The truth was, the company still had nearly $1 million in its account, more than enough to sustain operations. A large portion of the merchants brought in by the marketing department would renew their contracts after their initial ad spend was used up. Plus, Cole was planning to apply for a loan. He just had to find out how much he could get. He even planned to talk to the Venture Labs board to see if he could get a preferential interest rate. He wasn't short on cash, but Jasmine's gesture, it truly warmed him to the core. He was speechless for a long moment, his heart swelling. The glorious title of kept man was his and his alone. But he couldn't take the money. First, with the option to get a loan, the company wasn't in that dire of state. Second, if her father's company suddenly needed a cash infusion, that $150,000 could be critical. He'd just wire it back to her tomorrow after it landed in his account. He didn't have that much in his personal savings. Cole-chun, my dearest Jasmine, you forgot. The company can apply for a loan. I can probably get a pretty big one. Jasmine replied instantly. Jasmine Yang, what if the loan is hard to get? Just take it for now. Cole-chun, okay, I'll hold on to it for now. But if the loan comes through, I'm sending it back to you. The next time I'm in a real bind, I'll come asking, all right? He couldn't just refuse her outright. It would wound her pride. She might think he felt it wasn't enough. Jasmine Yang, even if you get the loan, keep this. For emergencies. Cole was out of options. He replied, touched, okay, Jasmine. You're too good to me. Jasmine Yang, if I'm not good to you, who will be? Cole sent a few kissy face emojis, and she sent back even more. It was sweet and incredibly warming. He'd just have to find a chance later to send it back to her, doubled, just in case her father needed the capital. The market was changing fast, and business wasn't as easy as it used to be. At noon, Cole ate with his 3 roommates in the dining hall. Dude, you're going all out on this app, Preston said between bites of food. It's convenient, I'll give you that. I can just lie in bed and scroll. Comfortable, right? Cole asked with a smile. That convenience was precisely why mobile was the future. Yeah, scrolling in bed is always comfortable. Definitely. You can use it anywhere, Frank added. His wallet was looking fat again. He just upgraded to the latest Samsung and was showing it off. Javi was busy, furiously texting on his phone. Cole shot a questioning look at Preston and Frank. He met a girl, Preston said, a hint of sourness in his voice. Liberal arts major. They're hitting it off. Looks like it might actually happen. If Javi got a girlfriend, Preston would be the last man standing. A pathetic thought. Cole knew it wasn't that Preston couldn't find a girl. It was that he was pathologically obsessed with becoming a famous influencer. He checked his follower count daily, like a man possessed. He was a genuine rich kid, not a fake. His parents and younger sister had visited Eastwood for a weekend during the spring, and the whole family, touring the campus, looked impeccably high-end. Perhaps to change the subject, Preston the influencer turned back to the app. Cole, that app of yours must have a crazy budget. You probably dropped at least a couple $100,000 on advertising, right? More than that, Cole said, focusing on his food. He held up one hand, fingers splayed. How much? Preston's eyes widened in disbelief. Over $750, Cole said it calmly. What the F? Seriously? No way. All 3 of them froze, even Javi, who finally looked up from his phone. Their first instinct was to call bullshit, but they had known Cole long enough to understand one thing. When it came to business, he never lied. $750,000. That was a terrifying number. Not only had Cole earned that much, but he'd also thrown all of it into advertising. Cole, man, I gotta say, you're being way too aggressive with this, Preston said, forcing down a mouthful of food. People on campus are saying you got greedy and now you're stuck in a mud, sinking deeper and deeper. Who's saying that? Such sharp insight, Cole said with a laugh. He was in the mud. If he could wade through it, he'd succeed. If not, he'd go down in flames. A bunch of people. They're just jealous that a freshman has a net worth in the millions. I just heard it from someone else, Preston said. If you're not making people jealous, you're not doing anything worthwhile. Cole, I support you, Frank said, pumping a fist. In a few group chats, they're analyzing Headline Today's success and its impending failure. The app has become a case study for them, Preston continued. So, they're certain it's going to fail? Cole was intrigued. An unsolicited team of experts. They're saying you're rushing for glory. Instead of properly managing the desktop version, you insisted on launching this app. They think you'll soon be losing more than you're making and your cash flow will dry up, Preston explained. Basically, they're saying success went to your head and you've lost your mind, Frank added. They're right. I am rushing for glory, Cole admitted freely, stunning the other three into silence. Wait, Cole, you're going to let them say that. Their conversation wasn't loud, but the girl sitting at the table behind Cole heard everything. It was Chloe, Cora's dance partner, eating with her boyfriend. As soon as she registered the conversation, her ears perked up. Over $750,000. The amount was staggering. She didn't even know what $10,000 looked like. Was he just bragging? But then Cole himself admitted he was being reckless. That shocked her. It looked like Headline Today really was in deep trouble. As a freshman without much life experience, Chloe didn't have the perspective to think otherwise. The gossip sank in immediately. Cole, don't you have a backup plan? Preston asked. Or maybe you should just cut your losses and scrap the app. Nope, can't stop now, Cole said, shaking his head. I've already invested too much in the app. Of course I have to see it through. Sigh, there's no convincing you. Preston sighed deeply like a wise old man. Well, let me give you some advice, Cole teased. You better keep grinding. You might just take off and become the biggest influencer in the country. Sigh, you're not worried at all, are you? Preston lamented one last time. $750,000. Even his family would have trouble producing that much cash on short notice. 100 or 200,000 was one thing. That afternoon, after class, Chloe couldn't wait to find Cora. I was sitting right behind Cole at lunch. I heard him say it himself. He's thrown over 750 grand into the app, and he's taken out loans. What? That much? Are you sure? Cora was skeptical. Absolutely. I was sitting right behind him. I was that close, Chloe insisted. This time, Cora believed her. Her jaw dropped. She knew Cole was well off, but she never imagined he was that rich. The so-called rich kids she knew might have a grand or two in their pockets. 10,000 was considered a lot. What a waste. Why throw all that money down the drain? If that were me. Cora's heart ached at the thought. That night, she opened their Sailor Moon Squad group chat. Cora-chun, I have huge news for you guys. Headline Today is in trouble. Isabel, what? What's going on? Julia, what happened, Cora? Student A, don't tell me it's going under. Student B, sounds like something big happened. That night, the news spread like wildfire, a secret whispered from one person to the next until it was everywhere. The next day, not long after Cole arrived at the office, Yvonne brought him a cup of coffee. Mr. Chen, I've heard a few things. Do you want to hear them? Thanks for the coffee, but you know I hate it when people leave me hanging. Last night, rumors were flying on several forums that Headline Today is over $1 million in debt and about to go bankrupt, Yvonne said, her expression strange. Cole barely managed to stifle a laugh, spraying a mouthful of coffee. Who's spreading that? No idea. The rumor is that you said it yourself. I said it. Cole thought for a moment. He trusted his 3 roommates. They wouldn't spread the kind of gossip. Could have been someone sitting behind him. He knew someone was there, but hadn't looked to see who. He thought their conversation was quiet enough. Yeah, the story is very detailed. It says you were complaining to your roommates, drowning in debt, and were even thinking about. Yvonne trailed off. Thinking about what? Say it. Cole was dying of suspense. Jumping off a building. The words made Cole choke with laughter and indignation. Do people really have that much free time? His phone buzzed repeatedly. It was the dorm group chat. Preston needs hugs. Cole, it wasn't me, I swear. My lips are sealed. Frank, I've always been tight-lipped, Cole. Javi, definitely didn't say a word, Cole. Cole sighed. He was about to reply immediately, but then decided against it. He'd let them stew for a bit, make them feel the weight of his suspicion and pressure. Huh, Mr. Chun, should we issue a statement? Yvonne asked, worried about the negative impact on Headline Today. Nope, I'm planning on going into debt anyway. Cole tossed his phone aside and took a sip of coffee. Just as Yvonne was about to say something else, a head popped around the edge of his cubicle. It was Lin Fan. Why didn't you ask my mom for money? Why didn't you knock before coming over? Cole rolled his eyes. This girl was getting spoiled. No one seemed to rein her in. You don't have a door, Lynn said coolly, pointing at the open-plan office. Right, no door, Cole thought. What he really wanted to say was that the door for her mother to invest was closed, but he couldn't say that out loud. I don't need to borrow money right now. Don't listen to rumors. Do I look like I'm broke? You look exactly like it. Fine, don't borrow it then. Lynn retracted her head. Cole wasn't annoyed with her. It was probably Vanessa who had put her up to it. Lynn wouldn't have thought of it herself. Vanessa didn't have any ill intentions. She was just bullish on headline today. Yvonne, you're coming with me to the venture lab this afternoon, Cole said, finishing his coffee in one gulp. Okay, bringing Yvonne along would be a good learning experience for her. At 2 o'clock, Cole and Yvonne were sitting across from Professor Diaz, the director of the venture lab. Are you having financial problems? Professor Diaz asked calmly. You've heard about that already? Cole chuckled. After a few interactions with her, he'd found that the professor was actually quite good-natured. It's reached the Student Activities Board. How can I not know? Is it true? It's both false and true. I'm here today to ask for your advice. I was wondering if it's possible to apply for a preferential interest rate on a loan. So the rumors are false. You should have put out a statement to deny them, Professor Diaz said, wagging a finger at him. She continued, there are interest-free loan policies for student startups, but the amount is limited to $5,000 to $10,000. That's definitely not enough for you. Let me make a call for you. With that, she picked up her phone, a woman of decisive action. When the call connected, Cole heard her address the person on the other end as director, their tone familiar. She briefly explained Cole's situation and headline today. After hanging up, she said, take all your documents and go see Director Allen. He'll give you a 20% discount on the interest rate. He'll have someone assess your loan limit as soon as possible. Cole stood up and bowed. Thank you, Professor Diaz. Don't thank me. If you succeed, I, as your sponsor, share in the glory. I took a risk fast-tracking the approval for your office space, you know. Professor Diaz smiled. She had been closely following headline today's development. Did she know if he was in debt? Of course she did. This student-run company exclusively hired Eastwood students, creating numerous jobs. That was a credit to her. After thanking her again, Cole left the office. The current business loan rate was 65% for a one-year term, slightly lower for 6 months. A 20% discount on that was a great deal. Back at the office, he gathered the company's financial statements, business license, and other documents, and immediately headed to the nearby bank with Yvonne. Director Allen was a man in his 40s with the unmistakable air of a senior executive, but because Professor Diaz had made the introduction, he was all smiles. The meeting went smoothly. Now, they just had to wait for the bank's assessment, which would take 1 to 3 business days. He had just returned to the office when he got a message from Serena. Serena Shun. Cole, are you at the office? Cole Shun. Yes, my prize piglet. She didn't reply. About 20 minutes later, Serena pushed open the office door and came jogging toward Cole's desk. When Cole looked up, he was stunned. Serena, who was always so put together, had her hair tied back messily, with stray strands framing her forehead. Her eyes were red and puffy. He quickly stood up, about to ask what was wrong. But Serena, still 15 feet away, stretched out her arms, her lips trembling in a heart-wrenching pout as she burst into tears. She flew into his arms. Wah! Wah! What's going on? Cole wrapped his arms around her, his heart aching with confusion. Serena was always so mindful of her image. He'd never seen her cry, and she would certainly never do it in front of so many people. The staff at Headline today glanced over, then quickly turned back to their work. Yvonne coughed when she saw Lynn still staring. Ahem, Lynn, focus on your work. Oh. Lynn silently looked away, a cold sneer in her heart. I knew this Chin guy was a player. Good thing I didn't listen to my mom. Serena's sobs were muffled against Cole's chest. He gently patted her back, murmuring, It's okay, it's okay. Wah! Don't be scared, I'm here. Serena slowly lifted her face, her tear-filled eyes gazing at him. Her expression was a mix of apology and self-blame, a look of heartbreaking sadness and helplessness. She cried out, Cole, I'm so sorry. I wanted to help you, but I couldn't borrow the money. My cousin broke his promise. Wah! It's okay, my prize piglet. It's okay, Cole murmured, stroking Serena's hair, his heart overflowing with emotion. He didn't care if the entire company was watching. He was going to hold her and comfort her. She had swallowed her pride to borrow money for him. What was there to be shy about? The depth of her affection was immense. An image of the aloof campus queen from his past flashed in his mind. A girl who always seemed like a fairy untouched by the mortal world. From middle school through high school, he had never seen her cry, nor had he ever seen her scowl. Of course, he'd never seen a truly radiant smile either. She was always just cool and detached. And now, for his sake, she had humbled herself to ask relatives for money, only to be berated for it. He could only imagine how wronged she must have felt. Cole's own nose began to sting. How could he ever let down a girl who cared so much for him? How could he not cherish her? How could he not fight for her? Do men who just lie flat truly lack ambition? Are they really just tired of this unfair world? No, men are born to be fighters. They're just missing a woman willing to cheer them on. They've seen backs turned on them, women leaving them for something supposedly better. They've been disappointed, so they've given up. A new resolve hardened in Cole's heart. He would make headline today a force to be reckoned with, a giant that would carve out its own place in the world. He needed enough power to shelter his women. It was, perhaps, a less than noble motivation, even a shameless one, to want so much for himself. But he was absolutely, unapologetically honest about it. Cole wiped away Serena's tears. It's okay, prize piglet. I have money, and I can get a loan. I've already applied. It should come through in a few days. I talked to the university administration. Serena, burdened with her heavy course load, hadn't been paying attention to headline today's finances, which is why she was so worried. Luna, on the other hand, knew the company's real situation and that he was applying for a loan. She'd even helped prepare the financial statements, so she wasn't concerned. Sniff. Really? But I'm still so sad. I wanted to help you, but I couldn't. Wah. Serena's sorrow was written in her tears, etched in her eyes. She looked like a child who, desperate to surprise a loved one, had failed and was now consumed by guilt. After being rejected by her family, she had been depressed. When she heard the rumors, her heart had shattered. Really, I'm not lying. You can ask Yvonne. We went to the bank to apply for the loan. Cole cooed, his voice soft and gentle, his heart aching for her. Trust me, it's really okay. Headline today is going to be fine. Don't cry, be good. It's all my fault. Sniff. If I had helped, you wouldn't have needed a loan. Wah. Serena was still sobbing, hugging him with all her might. Beyond the self-blame, there was a deep disappointment in her family. Perhaps she shouldn't have expected anything. She was the one asking for a favor, after all. But it still hurt. She realized that if she didn't follow the path they had planned for her, she had no value to them at all. The Shin family had money, a lot of it, but it came with conditions. Her cousin Spencer Chun, who had left politics for business, also had money, but her mother had blocked that path with a single word and was even trying to force her to transfer schools. She had never asked her family for a single thing, not one item. This was the first time, and she was rejected. It made her feel like an unfeeling tool, born only to walk a predetermined path. She'd never had sleepovers, never binge-watched a TV show, never gone to an amusement park. The only love letter she'd ever received was from Cole. No one else dared to write to her. She had never felt so much like a well-off puppet. Everyone envied her, but she could only walk her path in silence, hiding her envy of them. Did the Shun family's wealth have anything to do with her? She ate 3 meals a day and wore ordinary clothes. Did the Chun family's immense power have anything to do with her? She just rode her bicycle to and from school. She didn't need to flex any political muscle. She just wanted to be happy. And Cole had always spoiled her, truly spoiled her. He never blamed her for anything. He never asked anything of her. She just wanted to help him, to show her appreciation. And she had failed. She felt so useless. Prize piglet, you've already helped me in a huge way. Didn't you know? Cole cupped the back of her head with one hand and rubbed her back with the other. He could feel how deeply she was crying, a kind of despair in her sobs. She had clearly been devastated by her family's reaction. It made him feel guilty and pained. We don't need their connections. Why should I let her suffer for it? Having you here with me is the biggest support I could ever ask for. We won't go begging them for anything. We'll rely on ourselves, okay? Okay, Serena agreed. Her lips pouted, her voice thick with tears. Come, sit over here. Cole guided her toward his desk and helped her into his chair. No, I want a hug, Serena protested, not sitting down. She opened her arms like a child, her eyes glistening. Okay, hugs it is. Cole didn't care that this was an office. He scooped her up and sat down, placing her on his lap. It couldn't be helped. This was his prize piglet. If Jasmine saw this, all hell would break loose. Serena buried her head in his chest, her shoulders still trembling. To pull her out of her sadness, Cole whispered one comforting phrase after another, cooing to her as if she were a little girl. At the other end of the office, Yvonne occasionally glanced over. She was truly impressed by the freshman's patience. He was like a father. No wonder all 3 girls were so attached to him. If it were her, she'd be attached too. Lynn Fan stared the whole time, unable to focus on her work. Her expression was a complex mix of disgust, jealousy, and an emotion she couldn't quite name. Fiona, Whitney, and the others would sneak a peek now and then. They were speechless when it came to their freshman boss. He was so openly juggling 3 relationships. They had no idea how he maintained a balance. None of the 3 directors were fools. Anyone who interacted with them knew they were incredibly poised and intelligent. As for the male student employees, they had nothing but profound respect for their boss. If it weren't for the excellent pay and benefits, they would have been gossiping about this for days. But Cole was one of their own. They couldn't spread his private business. Besides, he had brought his relationships with him. He had never once flirted with a new female colleague. That fact also left the older students speechless. After 10 minutes, Cole finally managed to calm Serena down. And then, the little darling fell asleep in his arms. Helpless, Cole had no choice but to hold her while he scrolled through the back-end data on his monitor. He held her for an hour. He was probably the only boss in the world audacious enough to do this. Other bosses at least had a private office where they could have in-depth discussions with their secretaries, hidden from view. But him? He was just sitting out in the open, separated by a low partition, holding a beautiful girl while he worked. Thank God Jasmine wasn't here. Even if she knew about certain things, seeing him being so brazen in public would still make her furious. Time ticked by. No one came to disturb them. The campus queen in his arms slept soundly, her small lips twitching occasionally. Cole would glance down at her from time to time, finding it endlessly amusing, and would plant a couple of kisses on her rosy cheek. Fragrant. When the wall clock struck noon, Yvonne walked over and whispered, "Mr. Chun, Director Yang is scheduled to come in this afternoon. She might even show up for lunch." "Okay, got it." Cole gave Yvonne a thumbs up. He looked down at the girl in his arms. As much as he didn't want to, he had to wake her. He gently squeezed her earlobe and whispered, "Prize piglet, prize piglet." He'd only called her twice when her eyes fluttered open. The moment she saw it was him, she closed them again. Her beautiful eyes were still slightly red. Cole didn't have the heart to call her again, so he just continued to hold her. Yvonne shook her head, speechless, and walked away with a sigh. Is sleeping in his arms really that comfortable? She wondered. Now I want to know what it feels like, too. It wasn't until almost 1 o'clock that Serena finally woke up completely. She looked around, seeming to realize for the first time that she was in the office. She had been napping in Cole's arms in front of everyone. Her face immediately flushed crimson. She stood up, steadying herself with a hand on Cole's shoulder, and asked sheepishly, "Cole, how long did I sleep?" "Not long. Just a little while," Cole said with a smile, patting the back of her hand. Serena glanced at the wall clock and gasped. "Wow, it's already 1. Then she looked back at Cole and said sweetly, "Cole, I skipped class this morning. Skipping once in a while is fine. The professor won't hold it against you," advised Cole, Master Skipper Chun. He had almost forgotten what it felt like to be in a classroom. He didn't dare go, fearing the daggers his professors would shoot from their eyes. He felt incredibly guilty. His 3 roommates had been answering attendance for him all this time. Not that it mattered. The professors knew he was absent, but it saved face. "I still have class this afternoon. I have to get back to campus, Cole," Serena said, a hint of reluctance in her eyes. "Let's go get something to eat first. Then I'll walk you to your classroom." Cole gently smoothed the messy strands of hair on her forehead. Okay. Serena's face lit up with a smile, adding a splash of color to her tired expression. If she had to go back to campus alone, she wouldn't have felt like going to class at all. She would have rather stayed here. But with Cole accompanying her, she suddenly felt motivated. Her earlier sadness had nearly vanished, though a faint shadow remained deep in her heart. Meanwhile, in the hallway outside the office, Yvonne was tossing her empty lunch container into a trash can in the fire escape stairwell. On her way to the restroom, she passed the elevator bank just as a ding sounded and the doors opened. Her heart dropped when she saw who stepped out. Cole is so screwed. "Yvonne, have you eaten already?" Jasmine asked with a smile. "I have. Director Yang, you're here so early? I thought you were coming this afternoon." Yvonne was already imagining the battle of the 2 phoenixes about to erupt in the office. "I didn't have anything else to do, so I came early," Jasmine said, starting to walk toward the office. "Wait, Director Yang," Yvonne called out instinctively. Jasmine turned, a puzzled look on her face. "What's wrong? Could you help me with something?" Yvonne asked, putting on a "you're my only hope" expression while her mind screamed in panic. "What's a good excuse?" Think, an idea." She rubbed her eye, feigning discomfort. "Director Yang, I think something flew into my eye. It's been bothering me. Could you help me check? And maybe help me rinse it out?" Director Yang was easygoing. She wouldn't refuse. Sure enough, Jasmine agreed without a second thought. "Of course. Let's go to the restroom." "Cole, this is the best I can do," Yvonne thought. If this still turns into a war zone, then it's just your fate. The two of them walked into the women's restroom. The sinks were not directly opposite the entrance, but on the left wall. Yvonne leaned back against the counter, positioning herself so that Jasmine's back was to the doorway, giving Cole a completely safe escape route. A moment later, Cole and Serena emerged from the office and waited by the elevators. The nearest car was still on the 33rd floor. Serena had her arms wrapped around Cole's waist, whispering sweet nothings to him, trying to chase away all the unhappiness in her heart. Although she had failed to borrow money, hearing Cole talk about Mr. Zhao, the lawyer, had made her realize something else, something she could leverage without her family's permission. Her status. That brand was permanent, something she could never shake off. She might as well learn to use it wisely. Cole might need it one day. Meanwhile, Yvonne's eye was finally better. She couldn't drag it out any longer. Jasmine had flipped her eyelids up and down, blowing into her eye repeatedly, but found nothing. "It's fine. Your eye probably flushed it out on its own. It's just in your head," Jasmine said, washing her hands. "Probably. Thank you, Director Yang. You're so gentle." Yvonne meant it. She felt a pang of guilt. Director Yang was a genuinely good person. She had no idea how Cole got so lucky. It was infuriating. Why couldn't she join this happy family too? She'd been this close for so long, all for nothing. The thought that she might never find such a perfect family made Yvonne a little emo. She felt strange. The old her was fiercely independent and would never have accepted a situation like this. She wasn't sure when she had changed. "It's probably my uncle's family's fault," she thought, gaslighting herself. They left the restroom and headed toward the office. Yvonne deliberately slowed her pace, asking Jasmine for makeup tips. Makeup was a topic every woman loved to talk about. She didn't know if Cole had left yet, but she was doing her best. Jasmine slowed down too. It was still a while before 2 o'clock. But no matter how slowly they walked, they were getting closer to the elevators. A ding sounded. By the time Jasmine and Yvonne reached the elevator bank, the doors were just sliding shut. In that final moment, Jasmine instinctively glanced toward the closing doors. "What's wrong, Director Yang?" Yvonne asked, her own heart pounding. "Nothing. I thought I heard Director Shin's voice." "Was she here?" Jasmine asked, looking puzzled. Yvonne's heart leaped in her throat. Lying now was not an option. Jasmine could easily verify it with someone else. If she lied, Yvonne would make an enemy of the head wife. She steeled herself. "She was here. Came this morning. She was crying too. It was hard on her. I heard she tried to borrow money from her relatives to help Mr. Chun through this rough patch, but her family chewed her out. It was the first time I've ever seen her cry," Yvonne said with a sigh, hoping her tone would elicit some sympathy from the head wife. "Oh, is that so?" Jasmine said, a strange light flashing in her eyes. She knew Serena liked her little brother, but she hadn't realized it was to this extent. As the daughter of a high-ranking official, Serena's emotional control should have been impeccable. Yet she had been driven to tears. Jasmine had cried too, but that was only when her little brother hadn't replied to her messages for a long time. Her feelings were suddenly complicated. The more Serena liked him, the harder it would be to manage things in the future, and that would be painful for her as well. But at the same time, the fact that Serena, a girl from such a powerful family, had humbled herself to borrow money for Cole moved her. Even though she hadn't succeeded, the gesture was profound. Knowing Serena, she wouldn't lie about something like this. And Cole, he must have been touched by it, Jasmine thought. That bastard. I'm going to starve you for a month. A fierce thought took hold. If she didn't punish that scoundrel, she'd never feel right. The elevator reached the ground floor. As the doors opened, Cole covered his nose and let out 2 quick sneezes. "Are you catching a cold, Cole?" Serena quickly pulled a small pack of tissues from her jeans pocket. "No, my nose is just itchy," Cole said, taking a tissue to wipe his nose. He wondered why he was suddenly sneezing. They found a small restaurant on the street and had a quick bite. Afterward, Cole walked Serena to her classroom building. Her mood had clearly improved. In front of a stream of passing students, she stood on her toes and planted a kiss on his cheek. Then she waved a small fist in the air. "I'm going to work hard. When I have time, I'm going to sit in on the sophomore-level major courses. As long as you don't get too tired, take it easy. We have plenty of time," Cole said, patting her head. I'll make sure to rest," Serena said, her pretty eyes curving into crescents as she smiled. After watching her walk into the building, turning back to wave every few steps, Cole finally turned to leave. A group of students was standing under a nearby tree. "The #1 beauty of our law school has a boyfriend?" One of the guys asked, his face a mask of disappointment. "She's had one for a while. He's picked her up from our dorm building a bunch of times," a girl replied. "As if you'd have a chance if she didn't," another girl scoffed. The guy flushed with embarrassment. Which department is he from? I don't think I've seen him around. Probably from the arts or athletics department, the first girl said. He looks kind of familiar, but I can't remember where I've seen him, another guy said, scratching his head. He couldn't place him. Who pays attention to a random guy they don't know? Did you guys hear headline today is going bankrupt? The first guy said, changing the subject. You believe those rumors? And you call yourself a law student? The second girl said, dismissively. That's what everyone's saying. They're over $1 million in debt, they spent a fortune on ads, and the app only has a few 100,000 downloads. How long will it take him to pay that back? The guy argued. Let's just go to class, the second girl said, not wanting to argue anymore. Among headline today's users, many had fallen for the rumors and were discussing it in their own social circles. Because it was founded by a student, it naturally generated more interest. And because the founder was a student, a freshman, no less, it also generated more envy. At Eastwood Tech School of Arts, Amy was also getting tired of the talk. Amy, you should just start a blog and migrate your followers over. That way, even if headline today goes under, you'll be fine, a roommate advised with a smile. But there was a flicker of something else in her eyes. Living in the same dorm, one of them had become a major influencer, and another her assistant, both raking in cash. It left a sour taste in the other's mouths. They're just rumors. Don't believe them, Amy said, her focus on her comment section. An app with so many users couldn't possibly fail. It was just malicious people stirring up trouble. But it's a fact. There are ads for the app everywhere, but the download numbers aren't picking up, another roommate chimed in. That's normal. It'll be fine once more people buy smartphones, Amy said confidently. She had seen plenty of students still using feature phones, but she had also seen many working part-time jobs to save up for a smartphone. She used the app herself. It was so convenient to browse anytime, anywhere. All you needed was a portable Wi-Fi hotspot. I don't know, $1 million in debt. TSK. I heard the founder is just a freshman. If it goes under, he'll be working like a dog to pay it all back, the first roommate said. Her words made Amy frown, but she didn't say anything. You're lost, she thought. You're the ones missing out on the opportunity. The next day, the bank's contracted assessment firm arrived at headline today. They reviewed the company's revenue and estimated its repayment potential. They left after about an hour, saying they would determine the loan amount soon. Cole wasn't worried. He had taken out loans in his past life. Generally, there weren't any issues. Headline today had zero debt on its books. At most, there was his own personal investment. And with Professor Diaz pulling some strings, the process should be quick. But he never expected it to be this quick. The very next day, he was notified to come in and sign the loan contract. It was unbelievably fast. Normally, the assessment alone took at least 3 business days. The approval process would take another 7. Only then would they sign. Cole and Yvonne rushed to the bank excited. This time, it wasn't Director Allen who greeted them, but the manager of the loan department, a smiling man in his early 30s. Hello, Mr. Chun. Hello, Mr. Liu. They shook hands. You're so young and accomplished, Mr. Chun. Mr. Liu praised him. His sincerity was so convincing that Cole couldn't tell if it was genuine or not. He felt like he'd met his match in the acting department. Truly, every profession had its masters. You're too kind, Mr. Liu. I'm just riding on Eastwood's coattails and catching the wave of the times. You're the real financial elite, a leader in the industry. Maybe it won't be long before I'm calling you Director Liu, Cole said, humbly returning the flattery. Huh, from your lips to God's ears. Mr. Liu seemed genuinely pleased, his face beaming. Cole was surprised. Did I actually hit the mark? But he kept his expression neutral. They discussed the discounted interest rate. Cole was ecstatic. The initial 20% discount had been increased to a 40% discount. Mr. Liu also emphasized that the loan was to be used strictly for business purposes. The maximum approved amount was $1.2 million, though Cole could borrow less. Mr. Liu suggested a 1-year term, as the rate was only 0.1% higher than a 6-month term, and he was worried a 6-month repayment would be too tight. Cole readily agreed. He had planned on a 1-year loan anyway. With the current growth rate of smartphone sales, the company might take off sooner than he thought. After signing the contract, Mr. Liu shook Cole's hand again. Director Allen was supposed to meet with you personally, but he was called to the main branch for a meeting. If Ms. Fan asks, I hope you'll explain the situation to her. Hiss. Ms. Fan? Vanessa? Cole's mind reeled for a second, but his face remained a mask of warm, appropriate politeness. Oh, I wouldn't dare trouble Director Allen. With the future Director Liu here, I'm already feeling very honored. If Director Allen had personally met with me, Ms. Fan would surely scold me for being arrogant. Ha! Cole carefully avoided calling her Vanessa, lest people get the wrong idea about their relationship. That wouldn't be good for her reputation. No wonder the interest rate is even lower. It was Vanessa's doing. Lynn must have seen the assessment team and told her. Cole was suddenly curious. What kind of status did Vanessa have? She was even more influential than Professor Diaz. A loan of $1.2 million to be disbursed in 3 business days. No collateral required. After leaving the bank, Cole took Yvonne to buy 2 cymbidium orchids. On the way, he stopped by to visit Vanessa. He carried 1 pot of orchids upstairs, leaving Yvonne to wait below. "Vanessa, thank you so much for this," Cole said, his smile radiant as he placed the orchid on the edge of her desk. Gifting anything else would seem cheap, or worse, look like he was trying to bribe her for a kickback. An orchid was the perfect gift for a woman in her 30s or 40s. "I just happen to know someone. Lynn told me you were applying for a loan there, so I mentioned it," Vanessa said, pulling the orchid closer to inspect it. "How much did you pay for this?" "About $100. The guy said it was a high-quality specimen," Cole said honestly. "You got ripped off. This is a run-of-the-mill one. You can get it for $30 or $40, Vanessa said with a dismissive pout, clearly unimpressed with his horticultural judgment. "What? He told me how great it was. I should go back and talk to him," Cole said, feigning annoyance. "Forget it. The high-quality ones are more delicate and a pain to take care of. This is fine just for freshening up the air," Vanessa said, waving her hand, obviously unconcerned about the orchid's pedigree. She picked up her pen and began to twirl it unconsciously. "Once your Headline Today app takes off, it's going to attract a lot of attention. You need to be careful. Your content review has to be strict. That's your only weakness." "I know, Vanessa. Thank you." Cole stood up and bowed. "Just remember to take care of Lynn," Vanessa said, a kind smile playing on her lips. Her daughter had become much more cheerful, and Cole deserved credit for that. Too bad. He was a player. Lynn probably wasn't interested. Vanessa wasn't too concerned about the things her daughter told her about Cole. If there was no deeper relationship, his love life was none of her business. It was normal for such an outstanding young man to have some romantic entanglements. "Don't you worry about Lynn, Vanessa. She's in good hands with me," Cole said, patting his chest. After leaving the gallery, Cole headed straight for the Venture Lab to visit Professor Diaz and give her an update. Professor Diaz stared silently at the orchid on her desk, then glanced at her computer screen, which was open to a social media page. It was a post from one of her students, published not long ago. "Received a lovely gift today, a perfect touch for my office." The orchid in the picture looked almost identical to the one on her desk, down to the pot. "You're regifting, aren't you? Couldn't you have at least bought a peony or something?" Professor Diaz said, poking him playfully. "Huh." Cole, sitting beside her, had no idea what was happening. "How'd she know I gave one to someone else? Does she know Vanessa?" It was possible. They were both locals. Maybe they even lived in the same neighborhood. He put on a thick-skinned smile. "Huh. I was just thinking that the orchid is the gentleman of flowers, elegant and noble. It's the most fitting gift for my respected teacher. Your relationship with Vanessa isn't just professional, is it?" Professor Diaz asked, her gaze calm. Vanessa had been to the Venture Lab before to sign a contract and had sat in her office for a while. "Oh no, it's more than that. Her daughter, Lynn, works at my company, and I also rely on Vanessa's support in business," Cole said truthfully, but his tone was exceptionally respectful. Professor Diaz's sudden question had put him on high alert. "Oh." Professor Diaz let out a sigh of relief. She was afraid that Cole and her student were involved in some kind of relationship. That would be the end of Headline Today, a guaranteed failure. But if it was just Lynn working there, that was perfectly normal. They chatted for a while longer about Headline Today's future direction, with Yvonne listening in silence. After they had left the Venture Lab and walked some distance, Yvonne couldn't help but say, "Mr. Chun, you've really got some powerful backers." Cole chuckled. "A person has to rely on themselves. Or as I like to say, I rely." Without the profits from the tea shop, he never would have gotten into the Venture Lab. Why would anyone trust a freshman with no resources? And without Headline Today, he never would have attracted Vanessa's attention. Sometimes people can help you with just a word, but that doesn't mean you're relying on them. People judge you based on your value. Our only true backer is the continued growth of Headline Today. There's no other path. This was a warning to prevent his director from losing her drive. Gazing at the tall, confident freshman with his deep, thoughtful eyes, Yvonne felt stars forming in hers. There was a reason he could charm 3 top campus beauties. When she got back to the office, she needed to change her pad. Her flow had suddenly gotten heavier. Just as men strive for success to gain access to better partners, women do the same. Freedom, financial independence. The ultimate goal was still to find a man who could conquer them. Yvonne felt both lucky and unlucky. She had found one, but he wasn't hers. With her looks, she couldn't even get a foot in the door. No wonder they say all the good men are taken. Back at the office, Cole holed up in his corner and went into deep thought. There were things he had to do proactively to prevent a sudden sneak attack. 3 business days later, Luna messaged him to say that the $2 million loan had been deposited. Cole made several moves. First, he increased ad spending in more major cities. Second, he continued to optimize their ranking on various app stores. Third, he expanded the content review team to prevent the spread of suggestive content that could be used against them. Fourth, he established a copyright division within the legal department to mitigate copyright issues and prepare for the inevitable malicious lawsuits. With Serena's help, the great lawyer Mr. Zhao had agreed to be Headline Today's legal consultant. His team would handle all of their cases. Of course, the compensation was not insignificant. The copyright division hired 2 third-year law students who specialized in copyright law. They were currently in the conference room, listening to Cole outline their responsibilities, with Serena, their director, by their side. You'll be responsible for registering, filing, and managing copyright contracts, handling infringement complaints, coordinating with relevant departments on risk management, and encouraging users to produce high-quality original content. If Cole's predictions were correct, as Headline Today became more well-known, government agencies would soon come knocking. Any lawsuits will be handed over to Mr. Zhao's team for them to handle. Understood, Mr. Chun, the 2 students replied. Their curious gazes frequently drifted toward Serena. Anyone in the law school knew who she was. So this was her boyfriend. They did look good together. Now she was their direct supervisor. He might be a freshman, but he had powerful connections. As long as the pay was good, feelings of subservience were useless emotions. They were also satisfied with the office environment. The 4 workstations in the legal department were right by the floor-to-ceiling windows, incredibly bright. Getting a job at the legendary, high-paying Headline Today was something they hadn't even dared to dream of. So what if they were from the law school? The competition was fierce. Even if they got into a law firm, they'd have to wait years to climb the ladder. They had long heard that seniority was a big deal in law firms. Cole added, if you have any work-related questions, just report to Director Shun. If Serena didn't know the answer, she could ask him or Mr. Zhao. Serena gave a timely, generous smile and nodded. The 2 students immediately gave a smart reply. Understood, Mr. Chun. We'll communicate with Director Shun in a timely manner. Using the excuse of walking Serena back to campus, Cole made another trip to the Venture Lab to talk with Wyatt. He requested an optimization of the algorithm's filtering capabilities and another expansion of the development department, dividing it into smaller teams responsible for different functions. Wyatt was steady and meticulous. Cole felt confident leaving the department in his hands. With the continuous investment in advertising, the daily downloads of the Headline Today app finally started to change. Many people, during their daily commutes, would notice the ads. At first, they didn't pay much attention. But those who had just gotten new smartphones and were eager to try them out would download it, hoping to kill time on their boring commutes. Will from New York City was one of them. He had been working for 2 years, was currently single, and rented an apartment far from his office. He had just gotten his new phone 2 days ago. This was the umpteenth time he had seen an ad for the Headline Today app. On a whim, he searched for it in the App Store and downloaded it. The interface was clean and simple. At the top were channels like Recommended, Following, and Hot Topics. No pop-ups. That was a big plus for Will. He started scrolling through the recommended news. If something interested him, he'd tap to read more. Gradually, he noticed that after refreshing, new stories would appear, mixed in with content he liked. Things like fitness tips and tricks shared by fitness experts, and dance influencers, with their few seconds of hip swaying. He was completely engrossed. He rode one stop past his own before he realized it. In a good mood, Will got off and took the subway back one stop, a new idea forming in his mind. He wanted to document his own daily life. He registered an account and entered the creator platform. It was incredibly easy to use on his phone. He posted a short clip of a view from the bus window, paired with some profound-sounding text. After publishing, he kept checking the view count, eager to see if anyone else had noticed. He opened the app countless times that day. By the time he was lying in bed that night, the view count had reached over 800. There were a dozen likes and a few comments. It wasn't much, but Will was thrilled. He felt a little less alone. Claire from Los Angeles was a makeup artist who specialized in bridal and stage makeup. Business was just okay. One day, on her way home, bored, she downloaded the Headline Today app that was being advertised on the roof of the taxi in front of her. After scrolling through countless posts from various creators, she curiously searched for makeup. Most of the results were product-related. There was very little content about application techniques. That night, lying in bed, she had a sudden idea. What if she became a creator who taught people how to do their makeup? The thought sparked action. She stayed up late, creating a mini course on makeup, primarily using images. The next day, she woke up late. The first thing she did was grab her phone to check her post. She was stunned by what she saw. The post had thousands of likes and over 100 comments, all from girls asking for makeup advice. Claire grinned from ear to ear. From that day on, whenever she had a client, she would, with their permission, record the process, edit it into a video, and post it. Her follower count grew surprisingly fast. There were many people like Will and Claire, mostly between the ages of 20 and 35. This wasn't like the later era when even a 70-year-old grandma could easily navigate TikTok. The slightly older generation was still using feature phones. On Headline Today, everyone could find content they liked, from girls with amazing legs and huge assets to sunny guys with 8-pack abs or brooding, artistic types. The number of downloads for the Headline Today app grew daily. From initial 10,000 new downloads a day, by early June, the daily average had reached 100,000. On its best day, it saw a surge of over 200,000 downloads. On its worst, it was still 30 or 40,000. On June 15th, the backend data showed a total of 10 million downloads. Relative to the total population, it was nothing. But for the smartphone user base, it was an excellent number. However, Cole understood that they were reaching a saturation point, unless smartphone adoption surged again. Sure enough, the daily download rate began to fall sharply. Winning over the remaining smartphone users would depend on the quality of the app itself. The explosive growth of the app was a powerful rebuttal to the recent rumors. The forums went silent. No one is talking about Headline Today's impending failure anymore. But there were still some sour grapes, people saying things like it was all just money. It didn't cause much of a stir. Cole held a meeting with all the department heads in the business division, conducted via group chat since the regional offices couldn't come back. He had one requirement: bring in more ads. Promote the conversion rates and success stories of their existing advertisers. And control entertainment expenses reasonably. After the business meeting, Cole instructed Whitney to expand the planning department, bringing it up to the standard of a professional advertising agency. From that day on, every department at Headline Today entered a period of intense work. Cole was no exception. With a flood of new ads coming in, he had to help Whitney manage them. The development department had to divert some of its energy to quickly optimize the advertiser-facing backend, improving the payment channels for various bank cards to ensure secure transactions. They had already integrated PayPal, which wasn't widely used yet, but some people were. Cole was so busy, he didn't even notice that Serena and Luna were going over to Eastwood Tech almost every weekend or every few days. The three of them seemed to have reached an agreement not to tell him. The office was getting crowded again. Cole decisively went to Vanessa for help. "I knew you'd be back," Vanessa said, sitting on the sofa in a purple dress and high heels. Her legs, bare of stockings, were very white. She was habitually twirling that chipped pen of hers. "Hee, I can't hide anything from you, Vanessa," Cole said, grinning from his seat on a nearby chair. "Your company is expanding too fast. Another 3,000 square feet won't be enough. The 32nd floor only has one other company, and half the floor is empty. You want it?" Vanessa asked, a half smile playing on her lips as she looked at the young man before her. "I'll take it." Cole nodded emphatically. He had to. They were literally out of space. "Fine. The rent is the same. Give Lynn a promotion. Let her take on more responsibility so she's not running around all the time when she's off. That's not too much to ask, is it?" "That's perfectly reasonable, Vanessa. Even if you hadn't mentioned it, I was already planning to promote her. She can manage the second editorial department, focusing on the fiction channel. She seems to have a real talent for business-themed novels." Cole laid out his plan. "Is a lot of work?" Vanessa asked. "Do you want it to be a lot or not a lot?" Cole wasn't sure what she meant. "Of course a lot. Why else would I want her promoted?" Vanessa said, exasperated. "Then it's definitely a lot. I can tell you this. The fiction channel will eventually be spun off into its own company." Cole laid his cards on the table. "A company? You're already thinking that far ahead." Vanessa was genuinely curious. She had no idea what was going on in this young man's head. "A man who doesn't think about the future will soon have worries in the present," Cole said, putting on a profound, serious expression. A single platform, like Headline Today, couldn't house a complete fiction channel. By this time, the major web novel sites were already dominant, with their star authors churning out massive hits. The fiction channel would have to wait for the right moment, when smartphones were even more widespread. Cole wanted to sign the lease immediately. The sooner, the better. The ordinary-looking receptionist with glasses quickly brought in the contract. As before, there was no security deposit. After signing, Cole notified Luna to transfer the funds. "Looks like you've been doing well lately," Vanessa said with a smile. "It's okay. We're managing to stay afloat," Cole said modestly. "Have you broken $1.5 million yet?" "I think we're just about there." In fact, they had already passed it. The Headline Today account had just over $1.5 million, and money was constantly flowing in from advertisers bidding for keywords. The spending per advertiser wasn't huge, but when you added up all the major cities, it was a massive amount. It seems you're staying grounded. You haven't gotten arrogant." Vanessa praised him sincerely. "With my small achievements, how could I dare to be arrogant? I feel like I'm walking on thin ice every day," Cole said, modestly playing the role of the thin ice man. "Caution is a good thing, and you should always maintain it," Vanessa said, swallowing the words "if you need help, come find me" that were on the tip of her tongue. Everything still depended on the young man's own efforts. She didn't want him to let his guard down, just because he thought he had a powerful backer. "I know, Vanessa," Cole nodded sincerely. They didn't chat any longer. Vanessa had the receptionist take the key and show Cole upstairs. Ding! The elevator arrived at the 32nd floor. To the left of the elevator was a company entrance. Phoenix Holdings, LLC. The decor was simple, nothing special. This company also belongs to Ms. Fan. She has investments everywhere. "So, there's still time to chase after Lynn," the receptionist with glasses said with another smile. "Please don't joke, miss. I can't be unfaithful to my girlfriend," Cole said, pursing his lips, looking like a loyal, honest, and deeply devoted man. The receptionist didn't say any more, leading him to the right. As she unlocked the glass door, she explained, "It's all one open space. Ms. Fan was originally going to keep it for herself, but she ended up renting it to you for so cheap." She pushed the door open. Inside, there was some basic finishing but no office equipment. What surprised Cole was that all the electrical wiring was already in place, and the central air conditioning was installed. He walked around. It was a full half-floor, a massive 8,600 square feet. It could accommodate several departments. What a steal. This must have been the floor Vanessa had originally intended to trade for equity. "I'll have to thank Ms. Fan again in person someday," Cole said happily to the receptionist. "Hey, that's up to you." Cole didn't linger. He excitedly went downstairs to arrange for another move. He'd return the other space to Vanessa. It took Headline Today 5 days to move again. Although it was tiring, everyone was happy. Their workstations were even more spacious, and there was a break room. Cole even got his own office. It wasn't as big as he had imagined, but it was at least private. The finance office was right next door. It was June 22nd, a Saturday. Cole sent messages to his 3 little babies, thinking of going for a walk along the riverfront in the evening. He wouldn't even mind if they all went together. He had been so busy lately and hadn't had a chance to relax. But all 3 of them replied that they were busy. It left him feeling a bit dejected. What was this, a rebellion? Fine, if they were busy, they were busy. He'd just sleep. With a heavy heart, feeling neglected, Cole spent the day cooped up in his dorm, sleeping. At 6 in the evening, he was woken by his phone ringing. It was Jasmine. "Hello, I'm my dorm. What's up?" Cole's voice carried a hint of hurt feelings. "Come to the apartment now." Jasmine hung up without another word. The apartment? Cole was momentarily stunned. Oh, right. He'd forgotten. He'd given her the key a while ago. Were they all there? Cole's spirits lifted. It was fine if they were all there. After the last time, they all knew where things stood. He wasn't afraid. He rushed downstairs and hurried over to the Golden Bay Residences, apartment 2201. He knocked on the door. He heard footsteps, and the door opened a crack, revealing Luna's smiling face. "You're back. Wait a second, you can't come in yet." "Huh? What's wrong?" Cole was confused. What kind of secret could there be? "Here, put this on." Luna handed him a blindfold, a playful smile on her lips. Cole took it, speechless. Why all the mystery? But he played along and put it on. Everything went dark. Luna led him inside, and he heard the door close behind them. When they stopped, the blindfold was removed. The curtains in the room were drawn, and the lights were off. On the dining table was a large cake with 19 lit candles, 1 red candle on the left, and 18 white ones crowded on the right. Jasmine, Serena, and Luna were standing by the table. The 3 of them had radiant smiles on their faces as they clapped their hands and sang, "Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you." It was only then that Cole remembered. Today was his birthday. He had completely forgotten. The cake wasn't important. Could he get a kiss from each of them? Of course not. He knew he was being greedy. That would be like openly tearing away the final veil. There was a big difference between censored and uncensored. He was a little emotional, looking from one to the other, his face flushing. When the girls finished the song, they all shouted happily, "Happy birthday, Cole! Happy birthday, Cole! Happy birthday, brother!" It was so harmonious. So harmonious it stunned him. He kept his expression neutral, wondering if he should give each of them a hug. But the three of them didn't seem to be expecting it. So he decided against it, to avoid making things awkward. "Make a wish, Cole," Jasmine said, her eyes full of affection for her little brother. "Okay, I'll make a wish, huh?" Cole walked eagerly to the table. He clasped his hands, closed his eyes, and wished, "Please grant me my ambition of having 3 wives." He repeated it 19 times in his head. Then he opened his eyes, took a deep breath, and blew out all 19 candles. "Happy birthday! Cut the cake!" The 3 girls shouted happily again. Cole picked up the plastic knife and cut a slice, handing it to Jasmine first. Jasmine, the first piece had to go to her. No one would argue with that. Jasmine accepted it with a pleased smile. He handed the second piece to Serena, ranking them by how long he'd known them. Luna wouldn't object. The third piece went to Luna. They all accepted it happily, without any hint of displeasure. Just as Cole was cutting a piece for himself, a shadow flashed, and 3 handfuls of cake were smeared on his face. Then came the sound of 3 girls bursting into laughter. Cole licked the cake from the corner of his mouth, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. He squinted, locating the 3 of them. He scooped up a handful of cake and suddenly smeared it on Luna's face, who was closest. Huh! He quickly grabbed 2 more handfuls and, before Jasmine and Serena could run, smeared it on their faces with a triumphant laugh. Ah! The 3 girls, realizing what was happening, grabbed handfuls of cake and chased after him. "Stuff it up his nose." "Ah, you monster. Brother, you're so bad." The living room filled with the sounds of 4 people playing and laughing. It was like a scene out of a fairy tale, with the king chasing his sprites around the room. And the king definitely took advantage of the situation. They played until well after 8 o'clock, not even bothering to clean up the cake. The 3 girls, sweaty from the chase, took turns showering. Cole sat alone in the living room watching TV and made a quick call to his mother. After their showers, the 3 girls stayed in their room, which made him antsy. A few minutes later, Jasmine came out and walked over to him, holding out the blindfold. "Put this on. Don't take it off until I tell you to." Cole was confused, but also filled with anticipation. Was there more fun to come? He was getting excited. He put on and sat quietly on the sofa. The little devil on his shoulder giggled. The little angel on the other shoulder looked away in disdain. Base. Vulgar. The little devil shot the little angel a sidelong glance. After a long while, he heard the 3 girls come out of the room. Then he heard Jasmine say, "You can take it off now." Cole eagerly tore off the blindfold. What he saw made his jaw drop. Holy shit. Cole's feelings were a complex storm. He never imagined he would see this day. 3 goddesses in Chong Sams stood before him. Their black hair was elegantly pinned up, revealing their delicate faces and ears, with a few strands artfully left to frame their temples. A Chong Sam wasn't unusual. What was unusual was that these were all form-fitting, ultra-short versions. They all had a uniform halter-style collar, with a tasteful keyhole cutout on the chest. The colors were different, and so were the stockings they wore. On 3 girls with such superb figures and temperaments, the visual stimulation left Cole's mind a blank slate. Jasmine stood in the center. Her expression was proud, her gaze slightly cool, hiding the usual affection she had for her little brother. Her Chong Sam was a pale green with a floral print, the hem barely covering mid-thigh, with a slit that reached almost her hip. Only a confident, mature woman could pull off such a cool shade of green. Her legs were encased in sheer black stockings, paired with black high heels. Right now, Jasmine was the perfect fusion of elegance and sexiness. To her left was Serena. Her face was as cool and detached as ever, but the light dancing in her eyes betrayed her affection for Cole. Her Chong Sam was white with a blue floral pattern, like porcelain, just as short, with an equally astonishing slit. Her legs were covered in gray stockings, with light gray high heels. The porcelain pattern with gray stockings was a combination of grace and pure allure. To her right was Luna. She had never been cool or elegant. Her default state was one of constant vigilance, something she couldn't do with Cole. So her eyes still shone with gentleness, though she was trying hard to hide her shyness. Her Chong Sam was a pale pink with a white floral print. It seemed even shorter, the slit reaching a level that would make a video game character blush. The cutout on her chest was especially generous, which was the source of her shy expression. Her round, fair legs were adorned with white, lace-patterned thigh-high stockings. The pale pink with white stockings was a blend of sweetness and pure desire, and today, she wore it perfectly. The three tall, slender, long-legged girls stood together, displaying their beauty. Cole's lecherous eyes darted back and forth a little too quickly, from left to right, then right to left. He wished he had a third eye. He just couldn't get enough. They were all stunningly beautiful, with a completely different flavor than usual. He couldn't even speak, his heart pounding in his chest. In the modern era, you could see things like this on TikTok, but those always had a hint of tackiness. But when his three little darlings wore them, it was pure, ethereal beauty. Cole thought it was just a fashion show, but it wasn't. Jasmine held her phone, tapped the screen, and tossed it to him. Cole caught it without looking at what she had played, not wanting to waste a single second of the view. As the BGM started, he immediately understood. It was the K-pop hit Nobody. The three of them turned their backs to him, their figures forming three breathtaking S-curves in the cheongsams. Then, with the beat, they spun around. They stretched their arms, extended their long legs, their movements perfectly mirroring the original music video. You know I still love you, baby, and it will never change. The three girls lifted their legs in unison, pointing at Cole. The captivating curves of their legs blinded him. I want nobody, nobody but you. I want nobody, nobody but you. I don't want anybody else. If it's not you, I don't want it. Cole was stunned into silence, only his eyeballs moving left and right. It was too much to take in, truly too much. Although Serena and Luna were a little less practiced, their natural beauty covered any flaws. And Jasmine, she was a born dancer. Every lift of her hand, every extension of her leg, was perfectly in sync with the rhythm. The crisp sound of their high heels clicked on the floor. When the three of them pointed at him together, the old rogue actually blushed. He was shy. The little devil on his shoulder covered half his face with his hands, his eyes wide, a sleazy smirk on his face. But the bright light shining through the gaps in his fingers betrayed his hypocritical lust. For 3 minutes, Cole barely blinked. To blink now would be a terrible waste. When the BGM stopped, he was stunned for a moment before bursting into frantic applause. Clap, 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 clap. His hands were red from clapping. The girls' expressions returned to their usual selves. Serena and Luna covered their mouths, laughing, their cheeks flushed. Jasmine's lips curved into a gentle smile, her eyes filled with adoration for Cole. Cole was thrilled, but when he met his sister's eyes, his heart warmed, and his own eyes stung a little. He knew what she was sacrificing. For him. He thought it was over, but it wasn't. Serena turned and picked up her phone from the dining table, tapped it, and tossed it to him. Cole caught it. Na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na. The familiar intro of another K-pop song, Two People, began to play. You're looking at me. You're coming closer. I'm drawn in by the look in your eyes. The girls' expressions loosened, their eyes full of love. The choreography was a mix of the original and Jasmine's own modifications. But Luna seemed to be struggling a bit. The chest-popping move made her face turn bright red as she bit her lip. It made Cole's heart race, his insides churning. But he couldn't stare at Luna for too long. His gaze had to be evenly distributed. He was too busy. After that song, the three of them, full of energy, weren't even out of breath. Luna went to the table, picked up her phone, tapped it, and tossed it over. Cole was pleasantly surprised. There was more. As the BGM started, the three girls began to sing along softly, their dance moves gentle and soothing. It was the song Sweet Dreams. It's going to be another day with the sunshine. The sunlight brightly shines on my window. When I half open my eyes, your smile greets me. Their English was, needless to say, excellent. Whether their Korean was standard or not didn't matter. Cole was intoxicated. He was drunk on the sound of their voices. He couldn't describe his feelings. While his body burned with heat, his heart was filled with warmth. He felt that he would willingly exhaust all his strength to pluck the stars and chase the moon for them. He would even be a tired old ox for them. He was completely and utterly willing. Especially Jasmine. She had truly given so much this time. He had to love her well. When the last line was sung, Cole stood up and applauded with all his might. Serena was already covering her mouth with her fists, squealing, "Ah," as she ran into the bedroom. "My feet hurt. I need to change my shoes." Luna, her face beet red, also scurried into the room. It was clear they weren't used to wearing high heels. Jasmine pointed a finger at Cole, then went in as well. The door was shut with a thud. Sitting on the sofa, Cole's face was full of regret. His birthday party was over. It was so short. Couldn't it have been 2 hours? Listening to the girls chattering in the room, he started to plan what he should do tonight. He was already starving. He waited, his heart trembling, for a long time. The three of them didn't come out, and their voices grew quieter, as if they were sharing secrets. A few minutes later, Jasmine emerged. She had changed back in her own clothes and was wearing slippers. The eye candy was gone. Cole felt a pang of disappointment. Jasmine's next words shattered his little plan. "Cole, you're sleeping in your dorm tonight." "What?" "Jasmine, why? Aren't there other rooms here?" Cole knew exactly why, but he pretended not to. Jasmine was probably afraid he'd lose control and make things awkward for everyone. Jasmine let out a dry laugh. "I know exactly what you're thinking. Go back to your dorm. Now." "Oh." As reluctant as he was, Cole had to go. He had to listen to Jasmine. He stood up and said loudly, his voice full of emotion, "That was amazing. And the singing was great too. Thank you for everything you did for my birthday. I'm so happy. I feel full of energy." He shot a warm glance at Jasmine, then walked toward the door with a slightly dejected air. Cole didn't look back toward the bedroom. Jasmine was watching him, and he couldn't do that. If he looked, it would be a clear sign that he didn't respect her. Tonight had already been a huge surprise. He couldn't be greedy. Too much of a good thing was a bad thing. He needed to sip slowly to walk slowly. In the bedroom, Serena and Luna watched him walk by, their eyes filled with reluctance. But this was what they had agreed on. Cole stepped out of the apartment and stood by the elevator. Jasmine gently closed the door and followed him out. She took his arm and said softly, "Today is your birthday, and you've been so tired lately, so I'll let you have this one. But don't think it could be like this every day." "Jasmine, you're the best," Cole said, looking at her with deep affection, not saying thank you again. "Are you mad that I'm kicking you out?" A gentle smile played on Jasmine's lips. "Never, Jasmine. I'll listen to whatever you say," Cole said, shaking his head vigorously. He meant it. He would gladly listen to her. For her to do this for him was already a huge step. He couldn't push his luck and trample on her tolerance. Jasmine very, very gently stroked his face. She glanced back to make sure the door was closed, then leaned in and gave him a kiss. Go on. Be careful on your way back." "Okay." The elevator arrived. Cole stepped inside, waving at her with a radiant smile. Only after the elevator doors closed did Jasmine lower her hand. She smiled, relieved. It wouldn't have been good for him to stay. Someone might have lost control and gone crazy tonight. That would have been awkward for everyone, and unacceptable. Jasmine had seen how hard Cole had been working lately. With his birthday approaching, she had secretly coordinated with Serena and Luna to rehearse 3 performances for him, to help him relax and blow off some steam. It was compensation for him never going to clubs or bars for entertainment. Jasmine knew he would like this. There was another big gift, but it wouldn't arrive for 2 more days. They would have to wait. She had told the other 2 about her gift, so they wouldn't feel strange about it. The 3 of them had agreed to give their gifts together in 2 days. Back in the apartment, the 3 girls hid their longing for Cole and started discussing company business. Jasmine, with more experience, was able to offer advice to Serena and Luna. As the company grew, management would become more complex. With more staff, there was a greater chance of discord. The administrative department had to be vigilant in spotting any disharmony. The legal department had to continuously optimize various contracts and confidentiality agreements. For an internet company, NDAs were essential. Once signed, people's mouths were sealed. Business advertising contracts also needed meticulous attention to prevent future disputes. The finance department could also spot red flags from expense reports. If an employee's expenses were unclear or inflated, it was a sign of a problem. Of course, legitimate reimbursements had to be processed on time. Serena and Luna nodded frequently as they listened. At any other company, they would have been unqualified directors. But this was headline today, and the boss was Cole. They had limitless opportunities to learn. And they had a teacher who was technically a rival, but who had a kind heart. It was only 9 o'clock. The wind blowing from the street was warm. Cole didn't call a cab right away. He walked slowly along the road, trying to cool the fire in his heart. How could he not be fired up? He was about to explode. He saw figures in short skirts, revealing long, white legs, but Cole, the picky eater chin's heart was as still as water. He had no desire to look. He was feeling smug. An infinite well of motivation surged within him. He swore to fight the capital giants for a piece of the internet market. If he said it out loud, it would sound rather unambitious. Who would guess that the grand ambition of the headline today, boss, was all for 3 girls? It was so practical, so pure. Back at the dorm, only 2 of his roommates were there. Javi was out. "Cole, you're back just in time. Look at this," Preston said, handing him a phone. It was clearly Frank's. Cole took it and looked. Whoa. The picture was only of a lower body, and, from the small amount of fabric, it was probably a swimsuit. The problem was the picture had been posted on Headline Today that evening. Frank turned from his computer screen. I've seen a bunch of these. I report them. They disappear, and then new ones pop up. Cole handed the phone back to Frank, his expression darkening. It wasn't that the back-end moderation was weak. It was that these kinds of accounts were multiplying. On the surface, it was just pretty legs, but behind the screen was some sweaty guy in a basement. Online scams were an inevitable byproduct of the internet's rise. What was worse was that this could create a crisis for Headline Today. If the picture was taken at a beach, no one could say anything, but just a picture in a home setting. That was very problematic. Cole made a mental note. He would start dealing with this tomorrow. The next morning, he went to the venture lab first. The development department had been working overtime lately because of the heavy workload. Wyatt, we might need to speed up the image filtering function, Cole said. When he explained the situation, Wyatt also realized the seriousness of it. For an intelligent recommendation-based internet product, this was a disaster. Because users like to look at it, the chances of them seeing it increased. Then, when the issue blew up, it would be the product's responsibility. If someone reported it to the authorities, they could be reprimanded or even fined and forced to shut down for rectification. 3 days. The code for this is simple. It was already in the pipeline. I'll have them work overtime for the next 2 days, Wyatt said decisively. Good, but they have to sleep. Remind them not to pull all-nighters, Cole said, a little worried. Got it. Don't worry, Wyatt nodded. Cole stayed in the development department for half the day. On Monday morning, he rushed to the gallery. Walking on the road, he thought, I should really buy a car. Getting in and out of the university was taking up too much time. Now that he had enough money, he could get a VW or something to tide him over. As soon as he entered the office, Yvonne got up from her desk and followed him. After they were in his office, she closed the door, a mysterious look on her face. Mr. Chun, a big shot contacted me today. He wants to invest in Headline Today. He asked me to tell you. Guess which company he's from? Tencent, Cole asked, settling into his boss's chair. Connect Sphere, Yvonne said, triumphant at his mistake. P9.She from their venture capital division. Ever heard of him? Nope. Cole genuinely hadn't. He must have left the company later on. Otherwise, he would have known the name. He asked casually, what kind of investment is he talking about? He didn't say. He just expressed interest and said that if Headline Today is also interested in a partnership, you should go to Boston to find him, Yvonne said. Then, as if remembering something, she added, he also said you shouldn't miss this opportunity. Oh well, I guess I'll miss it then, Cole said dismissively. They were a huge corporation. To a small fry like Headline Today, their attitude was one of charity. Headline Today's growth was starting to attract attention. There would surely be others. The app currently had just over 10 million downloads. It wasn't a huge target yet. He still had time. As Headline Today grew, it was inevitable that they would become competitors with the major internet giants. But at this time, companies like ConnectSphere and Google were behemoths. They wouldn't pay much attention to a tiny little Headline Today. This was just them casting a wide net, hoping to catch a fish. Then I won't reply to him, Yvonne said, not asking any more questions. You have that much confidence in Headline Today. Cole smiled. I have that much confidence in you, Yvonne said, turning to leave with a sway of her hips. Her skirt wasn't too long, her legs were straight, and the way she deliberately swayed her hips was also quite attractive.